right, good evening, everybody. It was a little busier than expected weekend in Husker land. I think we all know. The fourth quarter kids got it done again. Two, had two drives because that first drive started with about 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they put together an 83-yard drive for a field goal. Which, when you add in the two holding penalties, uh, they actually ended up gaining 99 yards or something like that. And then they go, I believe it was something like 81 for the touchdown. Again, Rhule has a rough middle of the game, and again puts it behind him and is lights out in the fourth quarter. Made a couple of ill-advised throws, made a couple of throws that just were throws that 95% of quarterbacks probably can't make. And sophomore year, he's still way up on like touchdown. I think it's touchdown to picks is something like 15-4. So it's still a good number. 13-4, I'd have to look, but so that's still a good number. But it's kind of funny. The emotions are going to be high low roller coaster in a game where he throws his career high for touchdowns and career high for interceptions in a game. Four TDs, 3 picks. And then really cool moment after the game, if you didn't see it, Kenneth Williams was granted a scholarship after in a game where he had an 85-yard kickoff return. He graduated from Lincoln High, came to Lincoln by way of Detroit. And then I find out yesterday at Rhule's press conference that was a spur of the moment thing. They have, I always forget the guy's name. They've got their GM, how to split the money around guy. So he's the one that keeps track of who's on scholarship, who's a walk-on, who's getting, recording who's getting what NIL, even though they don't release that to us. And he'll have probably the final say in how the revenue sharing money is distributed among the players. So he knows all this. Rhule, genuinely not knowing, after they were coming off the field after the game, and apparently Kenneth came by and he grabbed him and said, "Hey, are you on scholarship?" And he told him, "No, I'm not on scholarship yet." And so he goes, "Okay." And so then he caught Troy Dan and told him, "Hey, Kenneth Williams, he's full on our kick returner. He's probably the fifth string running back. But he, definitely solid member of special teams," and told him he doesn't have a scholarship. And so Dan apparently went, "Well, to hell with it. Let's give him one." And then you had the video in the locker room of, "Hey, Troy's got something to tell you. Hey, Kenneth, are you on scholarship?" "No." "Well, now you are." And the place just went nuts. And so that was fun. And then you find out that same time, same day, here's Northwestern beating beating Penn State and basically pounding the final nail in James Franklin's coffin. And I don't care. I'm going to throw this up there. Penn State, you deserve it just for hiding Sandusky away to fondle kids for decades. So here's one of the first memes I saw. I think it was Monday morning. And, I don't know. I fully expect Fred, if he's watching it, to go, "Hey, I totally saw that." Yeah, we know. But yeah, to them and to the perverts in Happy Valley, that's probably true. That some things are acceptable, other things aren't, and they definitely have proven to have a skewed set of what would you call it, like priorities. Anyway. So they're going to be on a coach hunt. We'll talk about that. Obviously, Matt Rhule's name is right in the middle of it. The thing, we'll get into it. I'm saving Matt Rhule for last, because usually by the we get into the showaways, that's when we got the most eyes on. I don't want anybody thinking they missed out on that if they hopped in late. No, we don't punish them for that. So we'll talk about Matt Rhule. He talked about it on Monday, and I will just say this: anybody who thought you were getting any kind of either he's leaving or he's gonna marry himself verbally to Nebraska was nuts. Because here's what he's got right now is leverage in a new contract negotiation, and he knows it. Dan knows it. Penn State knows it. So the first thing he's not going to do is promise to stay. As soon as he does that, then he's given up a lot of his leverage. And I have a feeling that, should he decide to stay, they're not going to have much problem giving him a raise. They'd rather keep him than just uproot everything he's done and start over again. If it's up to Nebraska, they'd keep him, and we'll talk more about it later. So let's see. Tell you what, comments kind of flew in early. Let's see who was first and all that. The Rhule stuff, I'll try and put maybe some pins in those and save them for later. So Fred Sacco was first, and apparently feels like society's going to have to suck it since he was first. I'm not sure why, but whatever. Let's see. Yeah, we got one here. Let's see if I can star that sucker. Maybe not. Yeah, here's an Matt Rhule. I'm just going to play around a little here. Well, it's just giving me the option to delete the comment, put the user in timeout, or ban the user and delete the comments. So I don't want to do any of those things. So maybe I'll just, if we get people chiming in early on Rhule, I'll just run back up and see if I can find them. Let's see. Yeah, they're already gone. Let's see. We've got guys popping each other, and now they're already yelling at each other about, so stop the Rhule stuff. Stop the Matt Rhule stuff for now, and try not to make anything too personal here, because obviously people aren't going to all agree on it. And then there's also talk. I find this to be odd that a kid, whose dad played in Nebraska, who probably wants to take his shot at getting on the stadium there with dad. I don't think it's anywhere even close to a given. I mean, I think it'd kind of be a long shot that if Rhule goes to Penn State, that just that Holgerson go with him. I don't know, maybe, but Raiola, unless they just unless they fuck up the hire along the lines of a Mike Riley, then maybe they take a look and this isn't going to advance. This isn't going to be good for anybody. So. I wouldn't think Rhule would be going with him, but we can talk about that too. James Boardman says Northwestern took Penn State to the car wash. And also, so money, he's going to get money. Yeah, it's not coming down to a bidding war. I'm just saying, that Nebraska will bump him up just to show, we'll match what we think they might offer you, that sort of thing. I don't think it comes down to a bidding war, and if there is a bidding war, I don't know that he's the coach that's going to be in it. But anyway, we will come on back to all that. Let's start with the Husker drive chart. It seemed a lot worse than it was. Hold on. Let's just start right away without dry mouth. This one. This was like a nutty Saturday for me. I will tell you what. I mentioned, hey, I've got a tooth bothering me a little bit on Tuesday. Well, as the week went on, Wednesday and Thursday it got really painful. Friday it got less painful, but the gum, like over here, I've got a little bit of swelling over there. It's mostly gone down, but I can still feel it in there. It really swelled up on the gums, like on the outside of the tooth, to the point where I felt like I had half a ping pong ball in there on Saturday, and I was feeling fine. It was more pressure than actual, no sharp pain or anything. And I'm powering through the game, and then as the game ends, and maybe just the adrenaline was putting it off. After the game ends, I kind of start to feel shitty. I feel like I'm going to get sick, so I go walk around outside to get a little air. That kind of goes away. And then I just started feeling like generally bleh. So I'm going, I don't finish this article. The game ends about 6. I like to get it up. I used to try and get it up in about 15, 20 minutes, which left it really streamlined. So I like to write a little more. Well, John started doing post-game, 10-minute post-game wrap-up video. Perfect. That's great, because he'll get that up there in 20 minutes or so. Then I can leave that sit at the top of the page. You've got your final score if that's the only reason people are going to the website. And then I can take a little longer, and get it out maybe 45 minutes, an hour after the game. I think I finished it. Now I'm spitting. I think I finished it up around 11 p.m. Something like that. And here's what happens between then and 11. It's just I can't concentrate because now it is starting to hurt. I'm just starting to feel kind of weird, woozy. And I decide, screw it. I'm gonna try and lance this thing as long as I'm not, going up against the tooth or anything. And here, so I go in and just take a little push pin. I barely touch that swelling, sploosh, and here comes. I think I know what actual feces tastes like now, or at least how bad. Because this crap and pus and nonsense coming out was so nasty, and I'm just sitting there. Squish, spit, squish, spit. Are you having fun yet? Are you guys having fun? So it's not fun. But 15 minutes later, just lights on. So whatever's in there, I think was having let's say a little effect on me. Then boom, I get it. Then I'm just taking my time because it's like 10:15. It's already 3-4 hours after the game ended, I think. And I'm like, no one's really hanging on for this anymore, so I might as well. So I ended up doing it. If you have a chance to go in and read it, you can see I had some fun with it and got through it, and then even read it the next day. And I was like, wow, I got about 5 or 6 mistakes I didn't catch, proofreading it. So let's go fix it again. And one guy pointed out something. I can't remember if it was something like LA Husker or something like that. But he's like, no one actually, in a recap, gave kudos to the line, who really, it might have been their best game of the year. They were facing a team known for their pass rush. They got 1 sack. They got no quarterback hits. Emmett Johnson has his biggest day of his career by far. He was just in absolute beast mode on that 50-yard run, too. I think I wrote that, okay, he outruns, he beats the guys downfield. By the time he gets past that, when he's started inside, cut outside, here comes some more deep help. It looks like it's going to be over for a 30-yard run. I went back and checked like the yards, and he was about 30 yards downfield, and then just starts putting moves on guys, knocking guys out of the way. It just looked like mini freaking Marshawn Lynch going at him there, and just blows through people for another 21 yards. I think I think Holgerson said he ended up breaking something like 10 tackles. I don't know if that was for the game, but 10 guys hit and got yards beyond contact. And he said he went to the sideline and apologized. He was mad that he didn't get it all the way in for the touchdown. They're like, "What the hell are you apologizing for?" And it just sounds like he's one of the most intense guys on the team come game day. What did he say? Well, Butler said he came over yelling at the defense, like, let's go. And they were like, damn. And they're, I think maybe it was Cam Leonard was talking about how they just love just how much energy Emmett brings to the table. And he came in and talked and answered some questions today. And it was fun. I asked him, I said, on that first run, or maybe even your first 3 runs, for like 14, 11, 9 or something. But, first one, boom, right out the gut, threw some guys for a first down. I said, did you know just right away you had a big day in front of you? And he goes, yes, absolutely. He knew it was coming. Said, oh, yeah. And I guess what he yelled at the defense over there is he came over and was just going, come on, let's go. They can't stop me. And he's yelling at the coaches, give me the damn rock. They can't stop me. And he was like, yep, he goes, I said all that. And he was feeling it. Let's put it that way. A lot of fun there. Let's see. So anyway, here's their drive chart. I tweeted. I still haven't gotten an answer. Feel free to chime in because I don't think anybody else had seen it. We go down, go for it on 4th down. Nope, turnover on downs. We went like 40-something yards. They come back, go like 30-something yards, 4th down. Nope, stop. Have you ever seen a game start on back-to-back turnovers on downs? I would want to have somebody tell me what game that was so I can go try to find it on YouTube. It's amazing how YouTube's turned into a college football library. You can find so many games, old games. But I'd want to see that because I don't know that has happened. I figured that happened about the same way, in that Milwaukee LA game where the dude smacked the bases loaded, smacked it one to the center field fence. The guy goes up, jumps up to catch it, hits off his glove, bounces off the top of the wall and up in the air and then back into his glove. And the runners thought he caught it, and I don't blame him. I thought with a close-up view of it, I said, hey, I think it hit the wall, but I want to see it again. Well, these guys on second and third, so the guy on third starts off, runs back to the base, and is going to tag up, and this guy just throws a hose from just in front of the warning track and center and pegs him at the plate. Everybody's, hey, there's no tag. I'm like, I think it hit the wall, which means it's a force play. So he forced him out at home. And then the guy on first base ran to second. So the guy on second took off for third. But by then, the catcher's got the ball. And so he pegs him at third, and they get a double play on a ball that hit off the fence. So that was wild. I'd never seen that. I've never seen two games start by trading turnovers on downs. But we go turnover on downs, touchdown, field goal, pick, touchdown, interception, and halftime. So we're up 24-17 at the half. Pretty good offensive showing, right? Well, then Dillon starts the second half with interception number 3. And this was one where they were saying, Cortez Mills hooked the wrong way, hooked inside, he threw it outside, boom, the guy's got it and gone. Well, my feeling on that was he was covered like a damn blanket, and holy cow, it's like if he turned left, it was just going to be incomplete, or the guy might have still even jumped the route. I don't know, but it was going to be incomplete. And my feeling there is that's probably as much on Emmett for even throwing it to a guy covered that tight and throwing it in the middle, and there's nobody on the right. And on those, you're taught throw them low. Go low with that toss, and that way, guy either he gets a catch a few yards, because he's going to probably get tackled right away, or at worst incomplete. But nobody's picking that off and housing it in the other direction. That's just not going to happen. But yeah, here he is, and with 3 interceptions, and at that point, I'm wondering. I thought there was a small chance they're going, do we give Latif a shot here? Because this is was it 2 straight picks. And the last one was 3 drives before that. So but anyway, they do. The next time they punt, and so those are their only drives in the third quarter, and then comes fourth quarter magic again. An 83-yard drive for a chip shot field goal, which gave them a chance to win it with the touchdown, which they did on the next one, which was 81 yards. And they get the Emmett run. Was the Emmett run on the field goal? Or was the Emmett run was on the field goal and holy cow, here's the kid who threw 3 interceptions, and it's just in Raiola's rear view. He is not out there playing afraid at all. He's not double checking everything, playing slower, trying to make sure every ball's right in there, which can happen when somebody gets in interception trouble. He's just out there doing what he should, putting it behind him, and then just leading the offense to another steamroller freaking play for the second week in a row. And so he actually ends up 20 of 29 for 260 yards, completed about 70% of his passes again, 4 TDs, 3 picks. His quarterback rating for the game is still 169.1, which is still pretty good. So they're acknowledging the 3 INTs, but the 4 touchdowns make it up. He also has, earlier in the game, he has the touchdown to Luke Lindenmeyer, where he just puts it where only Lindenmeyer can get it. Lindenmeyer, not Lindenmeyer. Lindenmeyer. And Lindenmeyer drags the foot, gets a touchdown. And then there's the one to Heinrich Haarberg, where Haarberg just makes this great one-handed catch, keeps the foot down. I think that was a first down on the 3 before the Dane Key touchdown. And great, fantastic job by Heinrich. He has been making the most of his snaps, and he gets that touchdown. But I'm telling you, both those passes by Rhule were right on. First of all, they're right on target. Where do they have to make great catches? Yeah, but that's all they can do, and he puts it where they can make the great catch, and there's no dangers of interceptions, anything like that. So got that out of his head, and then drops the one to Dane Key, who twists in for the touchdown. Dana Holgerson, he is just, when he comes in, you're going to get some laughs. Today he came in. This is all leading to the Harburg run story where he was telling. Dana Holgerson comes in and he's talking about this. We're talking about Isaiah Hunter's screen pass for a touchdown again. Looked like identical to the one, just with better blocking even that they got against Michigan State. And he goes, it takes skill. People don't give enough credit to guys who make these screen pass catches. They also don't give enough credit to quarterbacks. There was a stretch there with Tommy and Taylor, and those are the two that come to mind that had a lot of trouble with screen passes. Like with just, here'd be a guy open on a screen, they'd throw it 5 yards behind them or 6 yards over their head. They couldn't get it. And Dylan his screen pass is automatic, always, or where they need to be. Like I said, most people assume, well, it's easy. It's a short little screen pass. But now we've got somebody who can throw those short little screen passes. Anyhow, Holgerson was talking catching the screen and running with, catching, making sure you have it, and then being able to turn around. And usually you've got a split-second decision to make with that ball, unless you just got it blocked perfectly. And he says there's an art to catching screen passes. I know when Tavon Austin, woke up today, he didn't know his former head coach at West Virginia was going to be blasting strays in his direction. But yeah, he goes, Tavon Austin, he goes, he was just absolutely terrible at screen passes. He was it was crazy because he was such a great receiver, did so many things, but he goes, he just sucked at screen passes. We're just like, okay, Tavon, are you listening? So that was pretty funny, but he was talking about, they tried the direct snap. They had put Heinrich back with Dylan, tried the direct snap. Nothing was there. He lost 2 yards. And old Holgerson had something to say about that. He goes, and that play blew up. That play blew up because both tight ends completely whiffed on their blocks. I don't know if it was for revenge for something he said in the tight end room earlier that week, but they blocked that like they hated Heinrich. Just cutting loose, like hanging. It was probably, Lindenmeyer and Carter Nelson, would be my guess for the 2 targets whiffed on the blocks. He loves to give Carter Nelson crap. I don't know why it is. I mean, maybe he's like, he knows the talent that kid has. Maybe he just wants the boot up his ass because he wants him jumping into that talent now and not taking 2 years. But he has, like, because like last week when Nelson, when the block punt just bounced right to him and he stood in the end zone, and he goes, and Carter Nelson got that touchdown off the block punt for doing absolutely nothing. So we all kind of perk up when Dana comes into the room. Hole goes a madman sometimes with the jokes. But so Emmett finishes up, there's your drives. The 2 fourth quarter drives are amazing. We told you what Emmett finished up with. Emmett Johnson, career day, 21 carries, 176 yards. No TDs. And I think he had 3 of them last week, I believe, but has his biggest yardage today, but didn't put it in. 8.4 per carry, and then tacked on a couple catches for 20 yards. So he finished with close to 200 total yards. He was just an absolute maniac. He was in beast mode. Call it what you want. Whatever bonus points he had to build up, he saved that moment on the controller for the right time with that run. Hunter takes it, spurred on by maybe that 59-yard, screen run and score against Michigan State, leads the team in receiving, 5 catches for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Monster day, 64 yard is the long play of the day on that screen, inside screen. Isaiah Mosey comes off. Talked about Lindenmeyer and Harburg's catches. Mosey comes off the bench and carries 5 times for 24 yards, almost 5 yards a carry. Catches a couple passes for 10 yards. Great job by Isaiah Mosey coming off the bench. On the defensive side, talk about in the zone. Javen Wright is in the zone right now. We're going to have to check and see the last time a Husker did this. he just had his third straight game of 10 plus tackles. He finished with 12 tackles. I think he had 10 against Michigan. Maybe it was 11 or 12 against Michigan State, and he had that sack against Michigan State where he just came in low hurdled the dude trying to block him without breaking stride and took out Childs. And then we had another sack from the freshman sensation. It's Cade. It looks like Peter Zach, but it is Pitchock or something like that. He says it really quick. They have the little pronunciation thing. I checked it. It's like Cade Pitchock. So great job by him making the most of limited snaps. And the stats, let's see, the total yards 453 to 379 for the Huskers. Butler admitted that they did not do what they wanted to do, which is affect the quarterback, is the way he put it. It's he doesn't like quarterback hurries, because he'll sit there and he said, here's a guy in the pocket. He takes 2 steps to his right because somebody's rushing off the right side, and the guy's within 5 feet of him. He throws the ball, and they give him a hurry. He says it's a very deceptive stat because they hand them out when no one's really like. Yes, maybe you made him move from a stationary position, but just because he drifts a little bit to get away, from a guy 10 feet away isn't necessarily a hurry. But he says he wants the quarterback hit and put on the ground, and I think they only did that once, and he said that's unacceptable. So Butler's the guy that owns up. Would you sit at home and go, this needs work? You will have him come in on Tuesday, and he'll either say those things need work, or he's right, there's something else that needs work that he got right and you didn't. It could, but yeah, he very much takes a lot of pride in his D, and owns up. Steps right in front and owns up when they're not getting something right, because they did not put much pressure on Washington all night. Like, one of the best ones they got was the 20-yard pass on that last drive, where the one up to around midfield there, is he did get absolutely plastered on that play, and he said so. That was one. It's like, yeah, he got the pass off, but it was a great job to get the pass off because we put him in the dirt, and so that was nice. Yeah, we outpassed them. For all it looked like them cutting us up through the air, it was a lot of dink and duck. It was almost like we were, and I forgot to ask him this, but it was almost like we were in Cincinnati's defense against us, taking away the deep stuff, because they were just hitting underneath all night long, because he completed, I think, 29 passes for those 249 yards. So most of his stuff was short. Outrushed them 193 to 130. Nice job. Like I say, best job by the offensive line all year. They were opening up holes for Emmett. He was giving them all the credit, and he was right. They did have somewhere that he's getting into that second wave before they're putting mitts on him, and if they don't open that hole very far, it turns a 3-yard gain into a 14-yard gain pretty quick. So we had that. Penalties, we were 6 for 47, and damn, Maryland, they were 8 for 73. I think they took 4 of the personal foul variety, and I'd have to go back, and I just didn't have the urge today to go play by play, because you don't really get a page anywhere that just shows you penalty by penalty individually. But they took 3 unsportsmanlikes, and I was upset. You can see it in the tweets. It was cheap shit, and to happen 3 times in a game is a lot. And I was getting mad at Loxley, because I speak well of Mike Loxley. I think he's a heck of a coach, and he loves his home state of Maryland. He grew up there, played high school, played college at Towson State, coached at different schools there. When he started his coaching, goes and becomes Nick Saban's, I believe, defensive coordinator at Bama for a few years. Comes back when Maryland gives him the call, and he's just a Maryland-Baltimore guy. I think Baltimore just through and through. And all of a sudden, here's a Mike Loxley team just being a bunch of punks. And the first punk move was on a kickoff, and that was one where, ball's dead. They're letting it go, and the kickoff team always runs up. And this one bitch, I didn't catch who it was for us, is running by him, and he waits till he's by, and then runs and blasts him from the side, sends him flying. Boom, easy flag. Then there's one where he definitely finished it being kind of a dick, but it's one somebody, here's a tackle, first guy up, goes to pull the Nebraska guy up or off, And I don't know if he didn't want to be pulled up or whatever, but all of a sudden he like picks him, and it looks like he slams him a couple of times. And man, if you're that mad because the guy didn't want to be picked up by you, I think just walking away is the better way to go. So they got one for that, and then the one that really torqued everyone off was when Dylan, had hurt his knee, and glad he came back from that. Some people were like, "Oh, you were so hurt, you're limping, but now it's fine." And I can tell you, 100% from personal experience, sometimes that happens. Like if it's a kneecap type thing, or maybe it's the twinge that you're like, "Oh shit, I've sprained it," and you don't want to put weight on it. Then once you do, it's like, okay, nothing happened, I'm fine. That does happen. Either way, he's up. He like you see Evans, I think, go like, "Okay, you're good," because he sees him kind of limping, hobbling off the field. And here comes one of those big linemen, just shoves him down. And so there was one guy on Twitter X, as I just like to call it Twitter X now, maybe Twix, but that's too much. But guy comes in there and he's like, "Hey, that's totally legal play. You can block downfield on the punts, and everybody's being a whiny baby." And here come other fake, because nothing announces that you're a fake tough guy, or as I like to call them, roughy toughies. They'll talk that big game, tough, old school football. But they're always saying that the old school tough guy shit in football and hockey are the cheap shots, like the shit where somebody blasts somebody who didn't see it coming. It's like, great hit. It doesn't make you a tough guy when you don't see it, when the guy doesn't see it coming and you just launch him. You want to know who a tough guy shit is? You go back and watch that old Monday night game where Mark Bavaro tight end for the Giants, and Ronnie Lott just spent the game, like that was his blocking assignment, tight end on strong safety, and he and Lott just lit into each other. Now there's some hits. There are two guys going eye to eye and letting each other have it. But no, this guy's like, "Oh yeah, it's totally cool to go, wipe out guys away from the play." Well, I can tell you it's not. They've been flagging it for years. The most egregious one to me is Georgia is my team, 1A after Nebraska, was back when they were playing Alabama. This had to be over 10 years ago. I think it was like an SEC title game in the mid 2000s, maybe early mid 2000s, is when they had Aaron Murray at quarterback. Aaron Murray's 25 yards. I think he got picked. He's 25 yards away from the play. And this guy doesn't, you thought, it's cheap of this guy just to knock Dylan on his ass as he's limping. This guy just comes up and blindsides Murray and just wipes him out. And I think he got the penalty and the gate for it. But no, this is not okay. They haven't been letting it go. It's not a good football play. It's cheap bullshit, and it's going to get flagged every time. You watch those. There's two refs there, and there's zero hesitation. If it's a good football play, I don't think two refs decided at the same time that, "Oh, you're getting it anyway," because we don't know. You absolutely call that. I was wondering for a minute if this guy was going to be shown the door, but yeah. But so three of those in the first half, and then I remember I wrote in the article because I was still a little pissed about that. So if you go back and read the article, I write about how Loxley was howling bloody murder at the what was it was the one near the end. Oh, was it that play? Was that the play? No, it was one other play he was screaming about, and I'd have to go back and look now. It was later in the game, and I just thought maybe your screaming would be better suited for your players who can't keep their shit together in a football game and not cost you 45 yards in a first half where you trailed by only a touchdown. So maybe should have been the better use of your hissy fit. But yeah, anyway, you can tell. Yeah, maybe I'm still not over it. But yeah, that's not how I'm used to Loxley teams playing. And I noticed it didn't happen in the second half. So I'm guessing there was a come to Jesus moment in the locker room. But that's really one. And maybe he just doesn't want to like have a sideline freak out, and have people, making Bo Pelini jokes about him or something like that. But anyway, now here was one killer stat for us, like not great. I didn't know this today, or I might have asked Butler something about that, because Butler doesn't mind tough questions. He'll jump right in, tell you what went wrong, talk about how they're going to fix it. He and Holgerson just love to talk football. Both those guys are fun. Sometimes Butler's pretty funny, and he's not as just funny like Holgerson. Just has that snark that pops out now and then. It's just hilarious stuff. But every now and then Butler gets a good jab off. Let's see. So, but Maryland was 7 of 15 converting third downs. That's a little too high. We were about in the same range, 3 for 7. We were each like, just barely under 500. But holy cow, what a job they did on that field goal drive of 83 yards. Because 2 holdings, I mean, they start inside the 10. They get out to the 20s, then holding and bang, they're right back down by the 10 again. And they convert first downs on both of those. There was one to Dane Key where he had to kind of dive and he went down catching it, where I'm like, oh my God, if that's in stride, a friend of mine had said he'd run for 20 more yards, and I saw some guys there, so he's not running for 20 more probably, but he's definitely his momentum's just getting him 5 to 10 more. So anyway, so there were your numbers for that. Before we talk about Minnesota, I can see the comments have been rolling. So let us take a peek at what we've got here. Let's see. Yeah, pretty sure if we had Indiana, Oregon, Illinois, Ohio State, or even Washington on the schedule, those are all losses. Stephen Fromm, I disagree. Indiana, yes. Indiana is, I mean, if they're not, I would probably think they should be number 1 in the country right now. Their best wins are better than Miami's. I think they're the number 1 team in the country. They surely won't be aren't worse than number 2. I mean, will be. The rankings are, I'm pretty sure, out. I haven't seen them yet. Ohio State, yeah, that's a loss, but remember what we did last time we played Ohio State too, was we were coming off the 56. I thought that was one of our best, not because it wasn't a win, but our comeback performances in history when we went out, lost 56-7 to Indiana, and then got our shit together and really, had a chance to beat Ohio State. Had that final chance taken away by a fucking Big Ten ref. The old Jamal. I think twice that year at ends of games, Jamal Banks just got just no doubt jersey yanked before the ball's close, and both times it got ignored. Ohio State, Southern Cal. So yeah, screw those guys. But I wouldn't call Washington a loss either. Illinois or Washington. I don't know. I think we could beat. I think we could beat both of them. Oregon. I'd say that Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State are still outside of our weight class, but it's the Big Ten, and all of a sudden things are maybe falling our way a little. We have gotten rid of that. We're gonna walk out and fuck this up. That used to be the thing going into these fourth quarters where they're going to screw it up, and then they screw it up. Now we're turning into three straight. You count the fourth quarter against Michigan. We won that one 10-3. And came down and got field goal touchdown on our last 2 drives, just, ran out of time, came up 3 points short. I know. But yeah, I think our fourth quarter score in the last 3 games is 41-9. We suddenly own the fourth quarter, and now, I'll keep going on comments, but I'll keep that in mind, that our fourth quarter thing going into Minnesota, because we've got some roadblocks there and some streaks that we need to overcome. Let's see what we got. Yeah, I gotta say, Pit Snipe says, I gotta say, I love Matt Rhule for always silly like that. Look, my buddy got fired by my other buddy. Watch me leverage this into 10 mil for a couple tackles, hold my beer. That's 100% what happened. But Matt Rhule actually was choking up a little talking about Franklin. You can tell that he really likes Franklin. He was getting a little broken up in trying to keep his shit together, because that was like the first thing he talked about Monday. So no, he took no joy out of Franklin's firing. And I got him a little testy. I wrote the article yesterday afternoon, the midday, about what I thought of what he said, what I thought the whole thing means in my completely non-expert opinion. And first, here's the thing about negotiating. Hey, here's what happens. If you coach badly, they're going to fire you. So when you coach well and you get an opportunity to bump your salary up 100% within your rights, go for it. You'll never get that raise you don't ask for, is one of the rules. And maybe I don't think Troy Dannon's a boss who gets pissy, because Troy Dannon knows the score. He knows that either one, we're losing him, or two, we're keeping him, but he's going to cost more because he, with the run he's got him on right now. And so, because people got mad, he didn't promise he's going to stay here. No one ever does in that situation. No one does unless they already had that negotiation on the burner, got it confirmed, and boom, I can say I'm staying now. But you don't promise to stay and give up your leverage. It's like you've got this leverage until this guy gets hired. The way I see it playing out, I believe he's going to stick, and we can get into the reasons why later. I believe he's going to stay, and the way it's going to happen is, I would say a few weeks, but it wouldn't surprise me if, say, even as soon as in under 2 weeks, that we hear that he signed an extension, which will basically be him announcing I'm staying in Nebraska. And that's why, it's not like he's taking joy at Franklin getting fired and, I'm going to be a dick and leverage it. No, you're just being a professional. This is your moment to get a raise. You're dumb if you don't take it. Let's see. Yeah, they can back up the Boulevard. Howdy, Big Boulevard. Howdy. They can back up the money truck. I don't think they'll. I mean, I will say he's probably headed for an 8-figure a year salary if he stays. Let's see. We got people. I never completely understood the hire, quite honestly. Well, that was pretty simple. We'd been in a shit place for a long time. We needed somebody to come in, rebuild the culture, and he was the guy that had the proven track record of doing it twice, from like 1 win to double-figure win seasons in 3 years, first at Temple, then at Baylor. We know the story. That's why I had him at the top of my list with Leopold. I think I might have had Leopold slightly ahead, but Matt Rhule, he was either my number 1 or number 2 guy. And I'd be curious, like who do you think were the better possibilities? Because I remember that list pretty well. I remember Dave Aranda was a hot name back then. I thought at the time, I was like, it'd be funny just for a certain portion of our fan base to completely lose their mind would have been Dion. Taking Dion from Jackson State. I don't think that was ever going to be a culture mix, to be honest. Here, to say the least. You could be a rock star in Boulder. I don't think you can really be as much of a rock star in Lincoln, and Dion wants to be a rock star. Let's see what else we got. Oh, Pit Snipe was listening. Yeah, the old gum pop there or whatever. It was completely painless. The gum pop. It made the pain go away. So it was disgusting, but 15 minutes later, I'm like, I would have done this 3 days ago or two. Yeah, probably 2 days ago is when it was really, like, the pain was less, but the swelling was more. And yeah, let's see. Oh God, now here's my rotten son. Now you know how it felt for me when you tried to force feed me canned tuna when I was a wee lad. Yeah, Drew does hate the old tuna fish. We all survived though, and you ended up getting food. I was tempted to starve you for a day, or do the old, was it? I think it was Bill Burr talking about his parents and how if you didn't eat dinner, you saw that thing wrapped up. It just got saran wrap put in the fridge, and then when mom's making waffles or pancakes or whatever the next morning, can I have some waffles? And they're like, yeah, first you eat the rest of that Salisbury, because it'd be like the chopped steak or whatever that just was like eating leather. Chopped steak and the congealed green beans. You heat that up, you eat that, then you can have waffles. And but I wasn't in that bad a mood. I waited. What did I do, Drew? Waited you out for about an hour or so. Just I wanted to see how hungry you really were, if you were just holding out for spaghetti or something. James Boardman, I picked the wrong podcast to eat vanilla pudding. Wow, I guess I haven't had the urge to eat vanilla pudding in a while, and now that you say that, that's going to be a lot longer of a while. But I knew you were the guys that could handle that story. Even though, okay, and now Fromm's going after. Now, here's the thing about the recruiting class, the classes now, is you got to remember, Bill Callahan had a number one recruiting that first year here, had a top ranked recruiting class. And it's because he had like 30 something guys. Those are built off of volume. And right now we just have 6 or 7 guys. I think we're getting the guys we want. We're getting a lot of the good guys in here. We'll see, because now we're going to see, because always, hey, the reason the class went a little better was that the winning hadn't started yet, so these guys are going elsewhere. The other thing to remember is you might see another Williams Nwaneri or two pop in. Because it used to be there were a lot of dickhead coaches out there. Urban would be one of them, but these were the guys that, like, if the guy you wanted went somewhere else and manned up and called you to tell you, or drops in to tell you in person, they'd throw that fuck you at him out the door. Well, you're going to realize this is the biggest mistake of your life. That when our team's going to pound your ass wherever you go, shit like that. Now, one thing I love about the transfer portal is, I always thought the best coaches were the ones that were nice about it. And, it was like, oh, well, keep us in mind, appreciate you thinking about us, that kind of thing, instead of just trying to dick them off out the door. Well, now if you do that, you're not just, leaving a recruit with a bad taste in his mouth. You're now maybe screwing yourself out of a player in the portal. If they remember the good times and they just edge somebody out, another team out over you, well, if they don't play as much as they thought that first year or two, they might be coming around on the carousel back to you. So, just no reason to shit talk him anymore. Let's see. I saw Northwestern against Oregon. I thought Northwestern played pretty tough. We'll see. They started off awful, but now they're kind of like UCLA, just turning it around. I'm telling you what, with the parity of talent in college football today, it's turning more and more into a anybody can beat anybody type of deal. There's no look at who thought Miami was going to be at number one. They had Clemson at 4. Clemson's like 3-3. Texas and Penn State were 1-2 and became the first 1 and 2 teams, like preseason 1 and 2 teams, to be completely out of the rankings together at some point during the next season. Everybody said it's just going to make the strong stronger. I thought that was silly. It's playing out that way. It's making everybody better, because the one thing it plays havoc with is preseason polls, because it's unless you really go through and dig through deep into their transfer additions, you don't really know. You can't just go, well, this team is back, or this team's coming back, but they've lost 10 starters, but now they got that portal option, and instead of stepping out an inexperienced guy into the spot, you don't know who they've brought over, and it just really screws with that. What was I going to say? There's something else about Clemson. It'll come back to me. But yeah, I mean, Northwestern, I think that Braun's a hell of a coach, just for having, I think he took him to a bowl the year after Pervert Gate, and they went 1-11. And Nebraska was that only win of theirs in Ireland. And then he comes in, never been a head coach before, unless maybe he snuck it in high school, and does an amazing job there. Now, granted, he did get none of the perverts got kicked off. The naked grabby guys got kicked off the team, so it could have gone a lot worse for him if they really, they just didn't really have the time, I think, to do the complete investigation, and kind of felt they had to leave those guys in. And then being a pervert school, I think they just ended up not doing much of an investigation. I'll say this about Pat Fitzgerald, because he won his lawsuit, and I'm vindicated. They proved I had nothing to do with it or no knowledge of it. No, that's not what they proved, Pat. The only thing was they couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you were involved. Everybody was still pretty damn sure. You just didn't have any of it on your phone or your emails, and you managed to not really be around it. You just kind of okayed it, but they can't. Nothing there was provable. You're not exonerated. You're just. It's a case where they can fire you. Oh God, but I think what they did was they were firing him for cause, so they weren't paying him out anything. So I think that was the deal. But no, you don't think for a second everybody thinks that the entire coaching staff and all the players knew about it, but the head coach didn't. And honestly, if that's the case, I don't want my kid anywhere near a team of yours if the head coach has no idea what's going on for what was it with him, like 15 years, because he took over Barnett's perverts. He's the one that started, pervert practice, Camp Kenosha or whatever. Fred likes to run with that stuff. Pitt Snipe said his last abscess was more like pistachio pudding. Well, good for you, man. Maybe I should have shaken some Splenda in there while it was going on and tried to make a little lemonade out of lemons. Okay, let's see. Christopher Foote. Let's see. He'd already. I don't know what we saw in him. Blah blah. We got now Matt Rhule as a pedestrian hire, if you ask me. I don't think dynasty with Matt Rhule. So we're just going to firmly put Christopher Foote in the camp of would not be unhappy at all should Penn State choose to hire him away. Let's see what else we got here. Done scored. What were you guys talking about? Yeah, and this is true. He's a rebuilder that can't beat top 25 teams, has trouble getting wins over mediocre teams. Next year will be telling. Now, that's what I'm saying. But he's never really he's gotten to the 10 wins, without beating, say the 2 ranked teams on the schedule. He'll have to beat a ranked team next year, because who's going to be left for him ranked this year? All of a sudden, Penn State was going to be the chance at a huge upset. Now they're looking like 7-5 in the eye. Somebody from Penn State made a joke on Twitter where they said, I think they should just go ahead and make Jim Knowles the interim head coach just for the hilarity of him actually having to talk to his players. I'm like, well, maybe we're getting a little deeper into why things are going wrong. If a defensive coach, if this is true, if a defensive coordinator is well known for not taking the bait there. Let's see. I'm sorry. I was reading Stephen Fromm saying, I'm praying Penn State takes the bait. Troy Dannon made a better head coaching hire at Washington. Yeah, Kalen DeBoer is a very good hire. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Let's see how this season plays out before we decide if Matt Rhule stinks or not. Because here's the thing is, I reposted it on did I repost it on Twitter or in the feed on our website? But somebody put it out there, hey, Penn State fans, I'm talking to you. Who do you want as your next head coach? And there was like 75 responses. And the only time Matt Rhule's name came up was one guy goes, hey, I can't help but notice no one's saying Matt Rhule here. So, 70-something answers on, of Penn State fans seems like kind of a definitive no, because he didn't say anything about any of the names. He just said, who do you guys want? So it wasn't hey, let's hammer on Matt Rhule. It's just he didn't come up. And I'm thinking if you're the AD, you've got to know that, and that's another reason I don't think they're hiring him. I think it's just coming down to his record against ranked and top 10 teams. This is why you're firing Franklin. And what you're going to turn around and hire a guy with a very similar and slightly worse record against these same teams that Franklin can't beat. And I think as an AD, that's got to give you pause. And the fact that it's kind of being, if you're reading the tea leaves, you might be hiring a guy that no one wants it. None of the fans want, and you've got to be cognizant of that. You don't want to piss the fan base off with your new hire right out of the gate. I don't think those ever have happy endings. Let's see. What else we got? Yeah, this is one I saw too, Fred, today. Penn State, they'll take a swing at Freeman. Yeah, I can see that. Here's what I listened to the Joel Klatt podcast today, and I like Joel Klatt. Former Colorado quarterback, so that's tough to swallow. He's always spoken really well of Nebraska. He's as close to being a Nebraska fan I think a former Colorado player can be, and he's one guy in the business I do respect who takes an honest look at everything. He doesn't have to be right every time, but I think his opinions come from a place of fair play. He's not out to get anybody, although anytime he says something bad suggests that maybe a team's not a national championship contender and they've got a fan base that loses their shit at such things. You know, you'll hear it then. Let's see. Imagine if Rhule goes to Penn State and Nebraska hired Franklin super cheap. We save money and get a better coach than Rhule. I've considered that, to be honest. If we lose him, hey, well, let's take James Franklin, man. You wouldn't take 10 years of pretty solid success. You know, no, they're not winning national championships, but they made the first CFP, made it to the semis, and they just seem to be winning 10 games every year. And their biggest problem is they can't get over on Michigan or Ohio State. Well, welcome to Nebraska, where we couldn't get over on Oklahoma forever, on Miami forever. We can live with that. It would be that'd be an interesting thought. I like James Franklin. I used to not to. I'd see the occasional testy press conference or snarky thing you do in a game, and then after getting to go to Big Ten media days a few years, and you hear him speak, and then you hear him engage with people. Good guy. I think he's a good guy. I will ask the question here. Think about this for a moment, if you will. Throw some comments in down there, and I would ask you, what's going on at Penn State running deeper than the football team and James Franklin? And the reason I bring it up is their volleyball team is also in the shitter this year. With their best player left under some pretty Penn State shitty circumstances, I should say. No children, for a change, but like she was the one. The rumors were that she was getting beat up with her boyfriend, but by her boyfriend, her teammates, a few of her teammates. They wanted her to call the cops. She didn't want to, so they went to the administration and ratted him out, and she got mad about that. And another thing I read somewhere, and I couldn't find it again, so I hope I didn't just make it up in my head. It'd be a weird thing to make up in my head, was that when she went finally to talk to, I don't know if it'd be the athletic director, the administration, the Title IX coordinator or whatever, but that, yeah, she finally said, and this is happening to me, and their first concern was not her safety, her well-being, what can we do, let's get you in some counseling, abuse counseling. Their first, as I read it, their first reaction was, all right, but can you please keep quiet about all this? It's like they were more worried about that going public than her well-being. And right there, when you're doing that, you're fucked. It's like Penn State, if there's a school that's got to be doing things better than everybody else in that regard, it's still Penn State. We don't forgive you. It's like we don't forgive Sandusky. We don't forgive Paterno for. And I read all that grand jury, so you get to see all the emails. So anybody saying Joe Pa really didn't know what was going on, it's in the emails. He knew what was going on. He's actively trying to cover it up. He's a piece of shit too. But you've got people wanting to put the statue back up. Oh my God, you're sullying this great man's name. No, they're sullying a sullied name. And so, yeah, I don't forgive that quickly. The fans were creepy. The coach was creepy. The AD and the president were complicit. And it was just about as horrible behavior. The school's behavior was almost as horrible as Sandusky. So no, you're on like 40-year probation, something like that. So anyway, but that's the thing. So here's all that. So their volleyball, because here's what they've got. They've got a semifinal, a national, a college football playoff semifinalist, and a national champion, and that's their two biggest sports. Sorry, Penn State hockey and basketball, but they're the women's volleyball. It's big there. Not if it's not as big as ours is here, it's pretty close as far as their campus. So you got their football team, their volleyball team, who were a number 3 or 4 team in the country and a number 1 team in the country, and both those programs right now are in free fall. They're both cratering. I think Penn State's lost like 6 times. They're like a 500 team this year. After being national champs, here's Penn State's football team falling off the map. And it just makes me wonder, is it just a wild coincidence, or is there something bad going on at Penn State that hasn't come out yet that's affecting the students there to the point? I don't know. Let's see what happens when basketball starts. But I don't think they're that good in basketball anyway. But see if that that team sport is cratering. So is it just something in the athletic department? I don't know. I wonder. I'm not accusing, but I just think this kind of coincidence with two teams at that level going from this level to my hand, and my hands are like somewhere between my knees and my balls, going to that level in a matter of months just makes me wonder: are we about to find out something else horrible happened at Penn State? And is that maybe something Matt Rhule is thinking about? I want Matt Rhule to stay. I know there's a couple of you there that could care less. I like the way it's trending. I like the culture. So and so. We'll talk more about it. Let's see what else we got down here. I'll agree with James Borden on this. Haarberg isn't fooling anyone on the zone read. Yeah, if Haarberg comes in to take a snap, they can send 11 guys at him until he does something different. Well, like the one thing they did, what was it? They did the one where they had Haarberg and Dillon back, and was it Emmett wing right, and they snapped it to Haarberg. Haarberg handed it off to Dillon, or maybe it was the other way around, but somebody handed it off to somebody, and then they flipped it to Emmett on that reverse. It was on like the 4 or the 5. The thing is that was Michigan State, right? And he runs it in for a touchdown, and no one touches him. And it's like, now there's a nice little call in the red zone I like. It's like every time you line up tight, they know they're coming up the middle because they hadn't really. Then this time they kind of did it. Good, tricked them up a little, ran it in. Yeah, just be creative in the red zone. Don't feel like you have to be the 95 Huskers again. That Husker line dominance isn't coming back anywhere. It's just not. Let's see. Foot. BLB. Nice to see a troller always. I can't imagine who you're talking about. Fred says, I'm drinking enough for the both of them. Hope to be able to turn on the audio soon. Still chatting with the missus about our shitty days. Nice. Better hope the audio's not on. Since I just read that out loud. Yeah, hang in there, Sack and Mrs. Sack. We need to win the lottery, quit our jobs, and live life. Ain't getting any younger and are tired of the rat race. I hear you, buddy. Blocking is getting better. Yeah, that best line game. And this was a team who was supposed to put the pressure on Dillon. This was a team who piled up some sacks this year, and that was their big worry going in, was the legitimate rush they had. And Pritchett, who'd been playing well last game and a half, got hurt, and Holgerson gave a shutout to Turner Corcoran for coming in and actually doing a good job over there with Pritchett out, and said, yeah, he blocked really well. He goes, let's face it, basically his only assignments this season, and this was a guy who started last year, his only assignments this season had been being like that extra tight end on like a goal line Biggins formation or whatever. Yeah, no, the hit on Rhule wasn't after the whistle, but you can't go smoke. He's nowhere near the play. He's quite obviously trying to leave the field of play. Boom, guy just goes up, knocks him down to be a dick. And yeah, and you can watch, but the referee's flags are out, and I think they hit the ground about the same time as Rhule. They were just like, no, you don't get to do that. And I thought and I agree, Beetleby should have been ejected. I thought so. Yeah, it wasn't after the whistle though. Yeah, he'd been down, got up, was kind of hopping on one leg. Justin Evans turns around to check on it. So here's how far out of the play there is. Justin Evans turns his back to everything to check on Dillon, and Dillon he's like, no, I can make it. Yeah, it was the cheapest one. Let's see. So we talked about that some more. Lee Alder's in here with the Go Big Red. Lee, good to see you, bud. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, before the whistle. Chris Humpall is in. Says Minnesota is a must-win game for obvious reasons. Tell you what, there's still some. I'll leave it bookmarked here and start trying to blow through a little quicker. But we need to talk about Minnesota here before we get too deep in. And let's start off with Minnesota itself. They pass a little more than they run this year. It's not by much. It's probably like a 51, 49, 52, 48 percentage. But they pass more than they run. Drake Lindsey, not impressed. You got another 6'5", 230-pound freshman. Unlike last week's he's not too mobile. I looked, I think the only time he carries the ball is when he gets sacked, and I'm expecting a big, slow, white, immobile quarterback, and he had a real big game against Rutgers, but against Cal, Ohio State, and Purdue, he was under 60%. I think he was under 50 against Purdue. I think we are going to hit him often, and he is going to have a sub 100-yard day. I will predict that right now. Their running back game, here's a stat. He is 113 for 188, 60.1%, 1,284 yards, and 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So, decent touchdown to interceptions. Now they've got, I want to say they've got 4 or 5 running backs that have double figures in carries. Their 2 top carriers, looks like they've both had injury issues. You have Fame IG Boy is what it looks like. IJEBOI, IG Boy, 48 carries, 225 yards, 4.7 per carry, 1 TD. Looked like he was injured against Purdue, but I couldn't find anything if he's still injured. But he apparently didn't play. He had no carries. And then you got Darius Taylor, who'd missed 2 games earlier in the season, who's got 55 carries for 205 yards, 3.7, no TDs. And they just don't look like they've got a real effective run game, like a typical Minnesota run game, because usually we're running more than we're passing, and maybe they like their freshman quarterback, but he doesn't look scary. The run game doesn't look scary, but a lot of stuff didn't look scary the last 5 years when they've been beating us. Let's see, what else did I have here? You have he goes to about 5 or 6 different receivers. Like no one averages over like 3 or 4 catches a game. The most catches anyone has, they're 4 and 2. So less than 4 catches a game. Their top receiver is Lameek Brockington, 23 catches for 253 yards. His longest 24. He's got a couple TDs. And then you have Javon Tracy, who only has 16 catches, but for 253 yards, like close to 16 yards a catch. And he's got a couple TDs with a long of 45. But that's what will make, I guess, them dangerous in the passing game, is you can't really put your focus on one guy. He spreads it around pretty well. And then here's some fun facts. We are one of 4 schools in Division 1 right now, FBS, that has a top 20 rusher in nationally, Emmett Johnson, and a top 20 passer nationally. So, anybody who'd bothered to look, because I remember when Holgerson got hired, you have people, oh my God, are we going air raid? It's like he had not truly coached air raid since he left the warm embrace of Mike Leach at Texas Tech. He went to Houston, and every point from there then on, where he was an offensive coordinator, and I think it still is similar to him as a head coach, is his teams would average 140 to 180 yards rushing a game. It's not air raid. He went to Oklahoma State, and I think it was Brandon Weeden threw for 4,500 yards, but he also had Kendall Hunter rush for 1,500 yards. And I don't know if he was a Heisman finalist or not, but he was one of the, biggest rushers in college football that year. So no, he absolutely wants to run the ball. So I'm thrilled for Emmett's got 650 right now. It almost seems like the only thing to keep him from being our first 1,000-yard rusher since Ezigbo is going to be like an injury. Now here's another thing. Let's see. We are ranked this season. We are ranked for the first time, and right in front of us in the polls is Cincinnati. I know some people yell. I talked about it last week a little. Some people yell bloody murder because no, we beat them head to head, but they beat a number 14 team at the time, so you get credit for that. And nobody's checking the rankings enough to make sure that when they're done, let me go over everybody's schedule so I don't have somebody who's ranked in front of a team that beat them head to head. So don't get too bent out of shape for those. Our last 5 games were 0-5 against Minnesota. It gets a little worse than that because I believe we're 6-17 on the road since 2020 in the Big Ten. So we haven't exactly been road warrior. Now we're 7-17. So let's not make it sound worse than it is. We notched one last weekend, and if we can beat Minnesota, that will be the first time we've won back-to-back road games since 2006, 19 years ago. So, and not only that, now we're going against a 5-game losing streak, a horrible road record, 20 years since we won back-to-back road games. And what did Dylan Rhule do? Went to Matt Rhule and is pissed about getting throttled by Indiana in the surrender whites. So we're breaking out the surrender whites for Minnesota. And I'm just like, why do you do this shit? I mean, it's just like spitting in the face of fate and hoping it turns out well for you. Seeing us out there in the ice cream uniforms, I think we're barely 300. In the last 40 years, we have barely a 300 record. Barely over 300 record in those things. But they just keep getting determined to roll the all whites out there. I don't know. Some people give me shit for saying that. I'm like, yeah, it's like, for me, I get it. The play on the field has nothing to do with it. But when you keep doing something and it keeps throwing up on you while you're being held on the ground, why do you keep doing it? I just don't. It's just like, why keep tempting fate? I guess you haven't truly beaten these things till you get to 500, and we're going to have to win about 12 games and 13 games in a row in surrender whites to get to 500. I'm just saying, burn those things in a trash can like they did with all their superstitious shit on Ted Lasso to like uncurse the field, and just burn the surrender whites to uncurse, on every road trip, burn an all-white uniform in a trash can. Everybody throw some other superstitious shit in that can, and let's just clean all these visiting fields away forever. Let's just get rid of it. It's simple. Why do we keep tempting fate? I really hope we win. It's not like I don't want us to. I'm not one of those dicks that wants us to lose to prove me right that surrender whites are awful and evil and all that. Well, you don't have to, because it's not like we're suddenly a 500 team if we finally win. We win the occasional surrender white game. No reason we can't. And if I'm honest, I like that Dylan gets so pissed about certain things that, hey, I want to beat the surrender whites. Whereas me, I saw that scoreboard starting to spin like a slot machine in Vegas last year against Indiana. And in my head, I'm like, those goddamn white uniforms. I'm ready to just make us wear all red. I'll leave a set of pants around, so we can, or a set of white jerseys around so we can have those for the road. But it's just going to be all reds at home from now on. There's going to be no white pants, no chance to let them put those on anymore. So anyway, let me take a swig. Let's take another look at the comments, and then let's get down to it with Matt Rhule. And I think we've covered that some people didn't like him to begin with. Feel free to have the opinion. I do, but that's not what we're not going to be talking about. Is he good? I really just want to get into, do people see him going? Who do they see Penn State getting? Is Penn State in the middle of some fuckery, general campus-wide bullshit that we don't know about yet, that's just got all the students on edge, so they're going to stink at all their sports? That's fine to bring that in. But give me just a sec here. Oh, Tuesdays are a long day. That's where I've got to get up and go in the morning, because Tuesdays they have the coordinators, and then they bring out several players for interviews, and then come back, put together the pod, try and get articles, start getting articles of mine blocked for the next few days. And I will be going up to Minnesota. Where did my rotten son leave already? Where are you, Mustang 6197? I'm actually going up to Minnesota. I'll be staying with him for a couple of nights and going to check out the game, the Minnesota press box. So that'll be fun. Let's see what we got here. Where were we? Minnesota was a must-win game, and covered that. Let's see, and we got to whack them. We got to whack them, and we got to spank them. And BW said, first time in recent memory we came back and won at the end. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row. And gave it a shot at Michigan. Matt Rhule said an interesting thing last week. He said, because I was kind of like, hey, this year we've turned it around. We're not we're in a tight game, we're going to fuck it up. Because I said at the beginning, I wasn't going, hey, they're going to be ranked in the top of the Big 12 and all this. But I said, Cincinnati, I said, first of all, they looked like a good team. They were cocky, and they were fast, and they hit, and they played hard. And I was saying, I don't know where they end up. They do not look like a bottom half Big 12 team again. They just don't. And I said, it's a big deal. I get it, but they're a Big 12 team. They're a Power 4 team. We beat a Power 4 team on opening day, which we hadn't done in forever. We won a one-score game, which we have struggled to do. And they said that's not nothing. That is not a big deal. And we also won the one-score game and by taking it away from them. Not by, there was an incomplete or something, or the field goal missed, or, something, or they fumbled it to us. Yeah, like give it away like we would at the end. No, Malcolm Hartzog battled with the dude, timed his jump perfectly, and comes down with it. And quick aside on Hartzog, I think he's looking towards, because this is his senior year, and he hasn't taken a red shirt. I think we're looking at a red shirt for him. He just seems to have one of those injuries that isn't getting better, that isn't healing. I don't think they've said exactly what it is. But he's been questionable for weeks, and then finally he was just out. He was on the out list yesterday, so he apparently looked bad enough on Friday that they were just like, yeah, you're a no-go. So they just put him on the out list. I don't believe he made the trip. So I'd love to see him back. We could use him, but quite frankly, between Guthrie and Donovan Jones, I hate to say we don't miss him. Let's put it this way. We can absorb this loss a lot better than we could absorb some others because we are stacked in the secondary. And Rex Guthrie coming on, you got two redshirt freshmen there, Rex Guthrie and Donovan Jones, who are redshirt freshmen playing like excuse me, playing like guys who are looking to be all Big Ten or more by the time they're done play. They are both big, fast guys. They're both 200. I think Donovan's about 200. Guthrie's about 205, 210. I think Guthrie's been playing more safety. Donovan's just playing wherever. He'll play cover corner. He'll play safety, come up and hit you like a linebacker, as John Butler said, and as we saw in the Pinstripe Bowl where he came up and just attacked runners playing cornerback. Sayre Wright's like that too. Noticed that right away last year. It's like this guy's finishing with 6 or 7 tackles a game, and it's not by chasing down the guy he just gave up the completion to. He sees the run and he puts himself right in the fray. Sayre Wright's got a lot of respect in that locker room. But it's now. But what Rhule had said was the coming back started with the second half of UCLA last year, where I think we're up 27-7 in the third quarter. We caught up to 27-20, had the ball. Heinrich chucked it into double or triple coverage, after getting about 20 or 30 yards, and it was over. But people tend to think of that game as about a 30-point loss in their heads just because of how it started off, how badly it started off. And we were actually, trying to tie that sucker up at the end. And then we go blow Wisconsin out of the water. And then it's like, then in kind of the, we lose to Iowa in Christmas gift fashion again. But we outgained them like 360 to 170 or something. Like we doubled them up in yardage, and they know that. They know they got dominated on both sides of the ball that night. So you can celebrate, have your fun, but if you start talking shit about how you kicked our asses, your heart ain't going to be in it because you got dragged on that field. And then we start off this year, we won the one-score game, take care of the two wipeout teams like a top team should, and then we keep coming back against Michigan. We do come back and win 2 games in a row, and both of them were QB, win because of the one game because of his where these interceptions coming from the last game, but then puts it in his rear view. It's like that's when you have a bad stretch. The best athletes just forget about it and just move on and play with the same confidence. And it's harder to do than it sounds. And so, Dylan Ryle has just been lights out in the last 2 fourth quarters. So, I love it. We're becoming the fourth quarter team now. And now if we win this game, and get the PJ Fleck monkey off our backs, and what an ugly little monkey that would be. All of a sudden, we're the team that can go win on the road, and at that point, hey, isn't this what we wanted from Matt Rhule? This is the first coach in I almost want to say maybe Solich when he had Crouch, because after that, yeah, anything started going wrong. He had that same horrible mouth hanging open body language. But yeah, you'd sense doom all the time with Callahan. Pelini, not so much. I should take that back. It'd be sense Pelini, because Mike Riley got you feeling doom from that first game against BYU where we had the big halftime lead, and then it started going south, and all you saw was him with his hands on his knees and his head hanging. That should have been his T-shirt. Just a guy hanging his head. Just had the worst "we're fucked, we're gonna lose" body language of any coach I've ever seen. But now it's like, and yeah, the one score shit. One little thing goes wrong, we're like, here we go again with Frost. And even the first years of Rhule, here we go again. So we're what, six? What are we now? 5-1? 4-5-1? Yeah, 5-1. All of a sudden, man, we're getting it done when we should. And they can go, oh, it was Maryland. Oh, it was Michigan State. Well, guess what those guys did the last time we played them? They beat us. We found ways to lose. I think both of them were 13-10 games. So, hey, before you can go, talking about, oh gosh, who are we going to play in the CFP? You got to start winning those games in those Big Ten games where they just get in your, we get in their face, they get in our face, but we're the ones who've just been blinking for 10 years. We're not blinking anymore. Fair? So yeah, that's why I like first time in recent memory. No, it's the second time in recent memory, Beetle, because we beat Michigan State too. But no, great. Simple comment, great comment. It's like people are saying this. My God, we do this comeback thing, and we own the fourth right now. Let's see. Oh, this was funny, and this is true. In Rhule's presser, he pretty much came out to the money managers and said, I need $40 to build a roster. And let me see, because I kind of scribbled pieces of quotes next to timelines, so not I can when I'm listening to the playback of the transcription I do on my phone, then I can go back, because some of the transcriptions get pretty wild. In one transcription, I found that I was being given a fourth year of eligibility, and I was thrilled but confused, because I thought I had all 4 years of my college athletics eligibility yet. Maybe I can go be a 61-year-old. Shit, I'd be a kicker, except I can't kick. He did. It wasn't quite like that, but it kind of was. Let's see. Did I get that one down? No, I think I just remembered that one and found it. But no, he said it. And people are, saying like, these guys winning a national championship, they're saying they're spending $30 to $40 million on a roster. And it's like, quite frankly, I want this place to do that. And why not? I think they're greatly exaggerating that at this point, unless they're already clopping together maybe NIL with the revenue sharing. But I remember, like, Ryan, it was just, year or two ago that Ryan Day was saying he spent $13 million. So I don't think that's suddenly gone to 30 to 40 million, but that's what it takes. Let's go. Hey, I want to win too. I'm one of those guys. I love NIL. It's on the table, but I was fully on board with the bagman. I thought it was ridiculous players didn't get paid. So when the places that did pay him, I was like, good for you. I mean, it was like, what did they say with Johnny Manziel, that he made $180,000 on the helmet signings that they couldn't prove he did, and it was in the Netflix special. And one of the funniest things about that was then they go on to show that the 2 years he was there were like record highs for Texas A&M fundraising. Like in those 2 years, they raised like $475 million or something. And he got $180,000, and people think that's okay. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, it's like not just getting beyond, like when you tack on the actual fundraising on top of what it brings in with the TV and the tickets and all that. These guys are still underpaid, but at least even the bottom of the roster is making a low level salary. I think they said it was like $30,000 if you're on the roster now. I think it'd be like everybody's at least getting $30,000 in NIL, and before it was like 150 guys. It's pretty much amounted to the 105. Even this year they have like 120 still because they're grandfathering it. But I think it sounded like what they did was the 85-man roster plus like all the what do they call them, the preferred walk-ons. And so you had all those guys that, if nothing else, even the guys without scholarships were getting $30,000, which is enough to pay their annual, room and board and all that, and then have some walking around money. So good for them. Yeah, but I heard that. That was pretty funny. And the thing is, Troy Dannon knows what he wants. That he really talked about after going. Yes, I love Joe Kraft. He's a friend of mine. The Penn State AD, and from what I understand, he's a fantastic AD and good because he's got his work cut out for. This is the most important hire he's ever going to make. After he said, yeah, and he's my friend, then he goes, but Troy, he goes, I have such a special relationship with Troy Dannon, and all we do is talk all the time about what it's going to take to bring a national title here at some point. And so so he's very much he loves his AD here, and he might already have another best friend, so that might have that going for him. But yeah, Chris says the best thing you can say is that's just what I need. And if you can, I'm gone. And I don't think that it ever comes to that. Just listening to those two talk about each other, I think we've got that rare thing. Like this is to put it in perspective, this is the anti-Sean Eichhorst. This is the guy who talks to all his coaches, especially his football coach. That's his life's blood. That's where his money is. And and he's this guy that probably just finds it insane that here's an AD that won't talk to that just hides in his office and won't talk to his coaches. It's like, how can you do your job like that? Yeah. And that's where you'll get a coach going, I need this or I'm out of here. And you better call me back by Wednesday this time. And, it's Saturday. And that's what life with Sean Eichhorst was like. So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Blaine Cole, how you doing? You bet. I mentioned it. We must get off the schneid with the Gophers. 5 is unbearable. And we've probably been favored in most of those 5, if not all 5. That's the crazy part. We go up there. The worst ever was still the COVID one, where Minnesota, like what's your travel roster? Like 80, 85, 80 guys, something like that. They show up with like 40 and they beat us, and they beat us soundly. That was the most embarrassing loss of any of these losses. Screw Georgia Southern. They at least, they at least ended up as a mid-major bowl team that went to a bowl. But my God, 42 guys. That's rough. Let's see. Does rules extension Sacco include NIL money from Blue Chew? You'll have to ask the old lady there. I'm not touching that one. Let's see. Yeah. Humble. I understand the hire. I didn't understand the Riley hire. I understood it perfectly. I hated it, and I was furious about it. I didn't wait. I knew it was going to be awful, and and that's kind of what I would compare what Penn State hiring Rhule would be, except they'd get much better results. They wouldn't get a destroyed program out of it like we did, like just a gutted freaking football program. But what they did was, hey, you're firing Bo Pelini. Publicly, you're firing Bo Pelini because he can't get over that 9-10 win hump. He can't get us to the national championship game and New Year's Day bowls and conference championships. Except the real reason was Pelini intimidated the hell out of him. Like Sean Eichhorst was a little beta bitch, and that's how you knew that Riley was a bitch, because Sean Eichhorst made Riley hire Bob Diaco. And if Sean Eichhorst can muscle you into anything, you need to get therapy and learn how to stand up for yourself, because that was like the weakest dude around, but he was even able to push Riley around. But the Riley hire just like I said, we want to hire a guy who can get over the hump, which Bo couldn't do. You hire a guy who's only been to the hump maybe once, has won like 9-win season at Oregon, and other than that, it was just lose. And then the NFL debacle where he went 1-15. Yeah, this would be that's what I'm saying. It would be kind of Riley-ish to hire Rhule, because you're firing Franklin. Well, basically, you're just embarrassed losing those 2 games, and it's turned and the stadium's turned toxic. You can't have that. But you're firing a guy because he can't beat top 10, ranked teams a lot, and then top 10 teams. He's 3-17. So you can't really go hire a guy who's worse against ranked teams and 0-10 against top 10 teams as the guy when you fired the guy because of why you did. So that's why I wouldn't understand a Matt Rhule hire. That's why I don't really see the offer coming. And if it came as like the third or fourth guy down the list, if I'm Rhule, I probably just got to pump my pride and say no to that. Going, hey, I'm at a place now where we're starting to feel the turnaround. We're feeling that we're possibly in that moment where we're turning this thing around to at least a lot of winning seasons. We're turning that around for good. And now you want me to come in to your program, which is just in utter shambles right now, and I'm not even your first choice. I think you stay at Nebraska there every time, and especially when he's so much gone out of his way to put down the roots. Moved his parents to Omaha. Wife started a business in downtown Lincoln. Son goes to Lincoln. Daughters are in school. And I think he'd said he doesn't want to be ripping them away from their friends every few years. He said when he got this, he hoped it was his last job. And I think he did that knowing someday Penn State might be calling. And I pissed him off a little because he started talking about, hey, was anybody, ringing my phone 2 years ago? No, it's a good thing when people are trying to hire your coaches. It means you're winning. Everybody's trying to hire everybody's winning coaches. And then he said it again, like this is just part of the process. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think you're given credit here. Was in my head. So what I asked was, I went, and all that's true, but this is a different situation. As you said, we're talking about your alma mater, where you played football. The AD is one of your best friends. You do understand how that makes it different, don't you? And he's like, 100%. And he thinks about it for a sec, and he goes, okay, I want to be respectful, but with that, I just want to answer this and not have to answer it again. So he feels like, I get it. You feel like you've explained yourself, but now you're just trying to make it sound like it's any school coming after your coach, which, yeah, we had that with Bo. I think a couple schools came after Bo. I remember Miami came after Bo at one point, and I just wanted him to, and then, because I wanted him to say a little more about what this means to me, and I know he'd said it, but I want him to say it after just trying to make it sound like you got to understand what's going on with the fans here. And I didn't say they expect you to stay, nothing. I'm not going to drop that hammer because he can't say that. Like I said, he's in his negotiating phase right now. Anyway, he gave a good answer. That's where he talked about. He goes, "I'm not a cyborg." He's saying I have these feelings. I'm not a 20-something. That was telling. That's me saying I'm a guy. I'm a 50-year-old with a family. Is what I'm reading under that. Maybe it's too much, and I don't want to be bouncing around the country anymore. I think he's staying, but like I said, I also don't think they're offering. It's like, yeah, you'd be replacing your coach you fired with a guy with the same problem, and obviously your fan base doesn't want him. And I don't think you just want. There's plenty of options out there without pissing off your fan base. Let's see what else we got here. Fickle was mentioned. The only time I heard Fickle mentioned was on the fact that they're so bad that there's no point in firing him mid-season. Let's just get to the end of the year. And yeah, I don't think Fickle's coached himself into the Penn State job. Thanks for the comment, James, but I would love to know who was actually that. Like I said, only thing I heard mentioning him was when he gets fired, not Penn State job. Let's see. Here we go. I had asked Fred this, or asked somebody this. Back then, I liked Leopold, O'Brien. I hated O'Brien. I didn't want O'Brien anywhere near this place. And then he went down and was just a disaster with the Texans. And they're talking that O'Brien might be a serious, like bookmakers thought they might want to bring O'Brien back. Fuck, O'Brien got the hell out of there in 2 years the first time when he promised for. Yeah, and Aranda, I'd heard, Rhule was the guy I'd heard before. He was, like I said, I think he and Leopold were the two guys that left at the top of my list. And then I had Aranda and shit. I can't remember. There was one other guy. I had Dion Fifth just to piss people off. And I can't remember who the other guy I had, though. But it wasn't O'Brien. I was like, pour me a glass of warm milk in the bar and tell me it's a gin and tonic. Nah, I didn't want that kind of boredom. Let's see. Yeah, Fred's right on this, and I think I kind of said that. Chris Humple, you know what? I started to answer it, and then me went off on a tangent. Chris Humple, I think the Riley hire was because they wanted someone way different than Bo. Mission accomplished. Yeah, he wanted a nice guy. He wanted a guy who he wouldn't feel threatened by physically, and anyway, yeah, that's why they got Riley. Let's see. Oh, Drew's back. Mustang. Yeah, he accepted his starvation. He chose starvation over the tuna fish. We're still talking. I love that he's still this affected by this so many years later. He never complained about other food, so I think he realized he wasn't going to get rid of it twice. All right, let's see. We're talking about tuna and Scott Frost. The tuna's gone out of control. Let's see. Pepper. All right. Oh, guys, I need you to hold on. I will be back in under a minute. I promise I'm not going anywhere, but I got to take care of something really quick. Sorry about this. I wish I had a host right now, or co-host. Okay, thank you for your patience, everybody. Sorry, had a little real life to deal with. All right, moving on. Troy Dana needs to get Buffett and the like to fund an NAL foundation into the future to make good coaching work with best athletes and facilities. Sounds like they got that right now. They've got, I always forget their names. They've got that billionaire couple that basically funds the NIL, like the NIL, like pays all the operating costs, for the people that manage the funds or whatever, offices, everything, salaries, blah blah blah. Every dollar, it's basically every dollar donated goes to the players, and they take care of all the costs. So I do like that, and yeah, so it sounds like they got some billionaire money. Hey, but if they want to get Buffett in, I'm going to stop that? No. Let's see. Pitt, we're talking crackers. Pitt says that Ritz are his default, but I'm good with saltines. When I feel a little wild, the Keebler crackers work too. Are those crackers? I thought those were just cookies, but who knows? Well, maybe even have some wheat thins or fancy crackers. I would rather eat grass out of the bag than wheat thins. Oh my God, those are just awful. All right, I'm going to try and pop through here, and hey, all from this point on, like the last half hour or so here, all Rhule, just to, your thoughts on who Penn State's getting. Are they getting Rhule? Who are they getting? If they do get Rhule, where do we start looking? I heard an interesting one today. I don't think he'll be on their list, but you got a guy who wants to get back into coaching, who won a national championship, can recruit nationally. If you get him a couple of good coordinators, you can see what good things happen at LSU. Ed Orgeron wants to get back into the game. Still, one of the funniest things ever was the interview where he talked about his firing. And, he was being interviewed. And I remember it started where he goes, AD, bring me on in. And I said, the things ain't going so good, Ed. And I said, hell, Ray Charles could see that. And he says, well, we're going to let you go, but we're looking at, did we see you got $17 million left on your contract? And we're going to give you all of it. And I said, well, in that case, I just got two questions. How quick do you want me gone, and which door do you want me to use? So, there was that guy basically retired after he won that national title. I think he filed for divorce. Well, oh shit, like 3 months later, and so he was single. He was single almost as quick as he got that title under his belt, and he was bringing he was bringing these dates around during practice, and just he retired, but he didn't actually he didn't like get fired for another 2 years, I think, but he had effectively retired after they won that title. Let's see, because he had Bo in there, and then they they're like, Bo Pelini fired. It's like I think that was everybody gets fired before the head coach, and then the head coach gets fired after the next season doesn't go too well. So yeah, that cracked me up. Let's see. Oh, good. Fred going back to Fitzgerald. And I know Fred has strong old feelings about Northwestern. He mocks them constantly, and I love it. I don't know how Fitz got exonerated, Fitzgerald. Hell, they had the whole gesture on the sideline equals put the kid in the car wash, or lack of institutional control. Yeah, there was no institutional just I don't know, because I think because in the end they fired him because they knew he was running it, but they couldn't. They didn't actually have the proof, and and I love he didn't get exonerated. He just won his lawsuit for like the wrongful termination, because if they'd fired him and paid him, I think that was the problem. Is they given him his payout, but they were like, no, you broke the behavior clause, or whatever you want to call it, in the contract, and it says if you do that, we don't have to pay your firing money. And so what he proved was they couldn't prove that. So yeah. All right, I've just told you that story twice. Let's see. Sometimes I get into the side conversations here, and I'm like, I'm looking for let's see. Somebody was looking for some of the old regulars, and then went John, Andy, and Greg, the old crazy people. Let's see. 90% of the posters on Black Shoe Dyers are anti-Rhule. That jives with what I'm seeing on Twitter, especially on that one poster. Who do you want? So I don't think if you're Pat Kraft, and I don't think if Rhule, I gotta believe that Rhule has somebody that checks social media, and at least in a case like this, lets them know which way I'd want to know which way the wind was blowing on that campus if they were getting ready to hire me. If I'm walking in and people are just going to be pissed, I don't want to go there. I mean, I get maybe sometimes people got that level of competition. I'll win them over, but holy shit, doesn't just seem like a good way to start a well-paid relationship. Yeah, this is it. I said fans aren't interested in Rhule. Rostovsky said fans don't hire coaches. Yeah, but big money alumni and boosters do, and they don't want. Yeah, I agree. Fans don't hire coaches, but if you hire somebody that your fan base just like the super majority of it doesn't want them, I don't know. Maybe it works out, but especially that if I'm Pat Kraft, I'm looking at Matt Rhule's top 10 and ranked teams record, and I'm going, okay, I'm really rolling the dice. I'll get into a couple more of these. When I was listening to Joel Klatt, he goes, here, I have no inside information. This is just me looking at the situation and who I think will get calls. And then he said, I'll tell you who I think they hire. He goes, first there's your big splash hire. That's Kurt Signetti. You go grab. He's got to be your number one. You go throw the vault at him, see if you can get him out of Indiana. Now, Indiana seems to be in a mood to match everybody, and apparently has has had their financial support bumped up some. So that could be tough. Then he says, then there's a fit guy, the guy who fits. He goes, and that's Matt Rhule. Knows the area, played ball there. He brings up the record of resuscitating program, but this isn't a program like long time in the dumper or anything, or it'd be a weird kind of rebuild. You see, I mean, they were in the college football playoff and semifinals last year, and all of a sudden it's this, and that makes me wonder what the hell's going on. And then he goes, then another fit one is Manny Diaz, I guess, who was there, did a great job as their defensive coordinator. Now he's winning at Duke. He'd be one. He goes, I think he's getting a call. This is Joel Klatt. He goes, and then finally, I think, what's his name? Brian Hartline, the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. And he goes, and now Ohio State fans are screaming, going, keep your hands off of him. But he called that the Dan Lanning hire. That's what Oregon did. They, off the 2 national championships, they go take Dan Lanning out of Georgia. And, and that loss to Indiana was their first loss in Big Ten play since they joined the conference beginning of last year. They were undefeated in the Big Ten until that game. And he says, I think those are the calls, and he thinks Hartline gets the job. He thinks that. He goes, here's the thing that hurts him with Cignetti, and because they have now the one portal entry time, and it's like mid-December to early January, and you have to do that so they can switch schools. But that playoff's going deep into January, and Cignetti's probably going to be in that playoff, and the way they're playing now might be deep into that playoff as well. He certainly looks like he could very well be headed for, it's going to be an Ohio State, Indiana. It's looking like an Ohio State, Indiana Big Ten title game. And, and the winner's going to get one of those top 4 seeds. And so what that does is now you haven't got, unless you can make them walk away, and the coaches do this, unless you can make them walk away from Indiana after the last game, and now you're our head coach, and Indiana goes into the playoff with an interim coach, and my God, that would be. I think that they're fine with. Cignetti might be okay with that because he's a cocky bastard, and he's certainly used to people hating him for it. So I don't think it'd bother him too much. It'd just be a matter of can you walk away from your team like that? And others have done it, and because otherwise now he's not there for the portal, he's not there for signing day. And he can't really get involved with you until the end of January, and Penn State might not want to wait that out and just sit back and let somebody else deal with the portal and recruiting and all that. So I don't know. That might be the kind of thing that gets him bumped, or I don't know. If I'm Penn State, I'm like, things are so absolutely shitty there right now. I mean, that's the first team in something I don't know how long there's been bookmaking, but that has lost back-to-back games as 20-plus point favorites. That hasn't happened in decades in Division I. So that's interesting. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about Fred's comment there. So Husker Bob says, yeah, PSU needs wins now, not in 3 years. Great point. 10 wins, this is a potential problem. If not, who cares? Cheers. I'm not reading that one. Let's see. So Chris Humble makes a good point. So Rhule is a good fit here. Penn State hiring Rhule is equal to us hiring Riley in 15. Exactly what I said. Like I said, if they do hire Rhule, they're going to get, I mean, that would be a good guy to bring in there and fix a broken culture. I'll give him that. But he did that definitely at Baylor. That was where you've just got a culture that is in smoldering ashes with people peeing on it. That's, you had everybody who could leave that team at the time. There was still a penalty for, transferring. And he came in there and his first year, I think he was rolling with like 43 scholarships or something like that. Now, he admitted when he came in here that he was picking up a way better culture than he thought he was going to get a hold of. He thought he was going to get what Frost got from Riley, where he thought he wasn't getting anything as bad as that. And then this was kind of the opposite. Rhule thought he was taking on a dumpster fire, but actually they had an okay culture in place. The biggest thing was getting rid of we can't win a one-score game, and we always kick it away in tight games. And now we're finally seeing that turn around. Yeah, let's see. What was this say? James Franklin ain't coaching next year or maybe the year after. Word is he's also dealing with some mental health stuff. I had not heard that. Here we go. Fuck it, let's hire Saban as a CEO and let him get his Home for Wayward Coaches program going again. Yeah, I don't know. We've got to find Home for Wayward Coaches going now. Phil Snow is assistant head coach is fantastic. You listen to the other coaches talk about Phil Snow. They just love having a guy with that football mind just great football mind around that they can bounce stuff off of. I think last year it irritated Tony White. I would say this, that like we knew Tony was looking for a head job, and then all of a sudden he just wanted out. And everybody said nice enough things, but I always got the feeling there was something off there. But I think him bringing Holgo in to look over the defense, I don't think he liked that. He thought my defense is doing fine. We're in the top 20 or 25 or whatever. I don't need somebody looking over my shoulder and playing, risk management or whatever. Let's see. Also, I don't want Saban to be the CEO, anything, that grumpy old fart. He'd start every meeting. Hey, can I bring up not paying the players again? Yeah, we know you want to make $13 million a year, but players don't get shit. We know how you think. You go sit over there with Dabo and gripe about a lot of old things that you thought were great that were awful. Let's see. Yeah, Pitt says he thinks Franklin takes you. Franklin. I mean, well, look at it this way. Dude just hit the lottery. His buyout's $58 million. I mean, and a lot of these coaches just love coaching, but he might. That's what Holgerson was kind of just hanging out. He was just going to do the consult at TCU thing. Didn't take Rhule's offer the first time he offered him to come in, like in December, and then changed his mind. It was like, hey, I'm missing it a little more than I thought. But yeah, I could see him, because having people harass your wife, your kids, that's pretty awful. I mean, that you don't deserve that, man. And that might leave him a little shake. Maybe that's the mental issues that just shook him a little. But $50 million. How many? I mean, coaches love coaching. That's the thing, is they don't want to be out golfing. They want to be doing what they do. And so $50 million is the kind of thing where I'd sit there and go, and I coached hockey for 20 years maybe, and I loved it. But when I had a good decision for walking away, and now that I got out of it, there's times I miss it, but I'm doing this. I'm putting all that time into this and more now, and I enjoyed this. So I found something else, but I get it. I get it, but I also get the urge to just get $50 million and not have to do a damn thing but travel, play golf, hike, go watch these games, go start going to all the bucket list games. But yeah, he hit a kind of a shitty lottery, but he hit $58 million. Here it is. You'd be hard pressed to probably spend that the rest of your life, even if you were living the high life. So who knows what he does? Interesting to think about that, though. I like that. I don't see Rhule leaving. He sent a message to Warren Buffett. He sent a message to, and hi, Red Wine 65, Jarvis, to build a beasts it in you. Cool. Let's see. Oh, okay, Steve Fromm, I assume you're talking about Franklin. They already said on other channels he's looking for a head coaching gig. Who do you guys think is going to take the job? Maybe I'll get down here to the bottom and I'll see some. They had Joel Klatt on busing. I like listening to Joel Klatt. It's not like there's some guys that talk about football and I get that hetero man crush going. I don't have that, but I like and respect Joel Klatt. Yeah, Penn State wrestling's on another planet right now. Okay, yeah, that program's through the roof, and it's popular, but it's wrestling, and it's not a huge attendance money thing. I'm not sure how much what they get in attendance for it at Penn State, but I'm guessing the volleyball would probably be ahead of that. I don't know. I could be wrong, but we'll find out, because, man, you talk about the dominant program in a sport. If something starts going wrong with wrestling, I'm sorry, something's going wrong at Penn State, and at that point, I don't need to know. I just know if they go from just kicking the piss out of everybody to that, and yeah, and Nebraska looks like they finished second last year and had three national champions. Good for them. One of them's a Millard South kid. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to wrestling. I didn't do it. I would have stunk at it. I joined, but I enjoy it. Here we go, Fit Snipe. I try not to hold grudges, but Happy Valley just won't stop looking like Babylon. And was it red wine said Lot ran from Sodom? We all did. Let's see. Okay, yeah, okay. So I guess Klatt was talking about Franklin looking for a new head coach job already. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm just looking through some of the comments here, seeing I'm kind of specifically looking for the coaching stuff. Yeah, there can be some bitterness here, Fred. You're not wrong. Yeah, Pitt. Literally every sanction, talking about Penn State, got cut in half, and somehow they came back better and eclipsed us. I'm relentlessly bitter versus Penn State, and I used to like them when I was a kid. I never did. I dislike. I can say this 100%. 10, 15 years before the Sandusky shit ever hit, I couldn't stand Paterno. I thought the guy was disingenuous. I thought he, not so much, through socials and all that, but he struck me as the type that was like PJ Fleck that wants all the attention on him. He's bigger than the players. Hey, no names on our uniforms. That's right. The only name you want them to know is Paterno. And I just got the feeling. And then the stories were coming out about him years before that about what a weirdo he was. He thought he was the king of Happy Valley, which for me, when it went down and he started talking about, well, I'm just the football coach, the guys who run this place, and he's calling out the athletic director and the president and whoever the other guy was, high up in the chain. And it's like, but here's the thing: he's making $7 million a year, and none of those guys makes more than $500,000, but you're pretending they're your boss. Yeah, their name might be over yours, but he ran that place. And because there were two incidents, like road rage incidents with motorists, and the one that stuck out to me was apparently this one. There was this couple in their lower 30s who were rolling through stop signs through campus, and Joe saw it. He's following them, and then he's starting to honk, flash the lights, and like he's pulling them over. Joe's pulling them over like he's a cop, and he comes up, and they see it's Joe Paterno, and they're like, oh. He's probably just being nice. We probably have a headlight out or something. And he rolls down the window, and Joe starts screaming at the driver about running the stop signs. And he's like, oh, I'll start. And then Joe's yelling at, and then eventually Joe went in and went hands on, like reaching in, grabbing him, grabbing his shirt and trying to throw him around. And the guy's just, swatting him off. It's freaking 197-year-old Joe Paterno. Yeah, Lou Holtz is another guy that thought he was tough. And one of the Notre Dame stories in the book Under the Tarnished Dome by Don Yeager, the players told a story that he loved to grab helmets and jerk their heads around when he was yelling at him. And Granny's like 5'7", 130 pounds, but trying to be tough drill sergeant coach. So he said one time whoever their starting center wanted had his fill of like play acting that Lou's really tossing him around. So he just flexed the neck, and Lou's trying to sling his head around, and he couldn't move him an inch. And then that infuriated him, so he made everybody run. So that's what a little what a little softy he was. But yeah, Penn State, screw you. What else we got? Any? NCAA of 2006 had customizable fan signs. I made a special one versus Penn State. Horseplay is not okay, and teacher leave them kids alone. We go to Penn State, don't we? Damn it. That would have been a fun one. That would have been some fun ones to fly. I had forever PSU guys in my orbit back in the Navy. They never stopped crying about 94. They shut the fuck up in 95, laugh out loud. Yeah, 94. Well, let's see. Nebraska just destroyed you. We're number one. We just destroyed the number 3 team in the country. Like, was it 42-17 that we beat? Something like that, beat Tennessee. They're playing the number 13-14 team, Oregon, in the Rose Bowl, and they give up. I remember they won like 30-13, but they gave up like 500 and something yards. So they looked anything but dominant. We would have throttled them in 94. We would have throttled. 97. We would have throttled Michigan in 97. Screw them both. Chris trying to get into Fred territory here. Jerry Sandusky, defensive coach, offensive touch. Okay. Yeah, wouldn't shut up about, of all people, Kerry Collins would have picked the 94 defensive part. No. Let's see. Searching for more coach stuff. Here's Drew. I am going to swing to the family story here outside of Matt Rhule talk. Never forget watching Simsapalooza. Yeah, the first game of the Jeff Sims experience. Hey, he didn't get picked up. He didn't have any turnovers in his start. Now it looked like the coach wasn't giving him that opportunity because he was something like 15 of 28 for about 105 yards. He was not letting him throw anything downfield. So that looked like he was limiting the damage. They lost 42. They got smoked 42-13. Yeah, as long as Sam Levitt can walk, he'll be playing again. But no, anyway, watching that game, and we were in Durango. We were doing some hiking, hanging out. And he goes, "At least you were buying my drinks." And some girl in the bar said I looked cute that night, and she did. What was it? The drag queen, Drew? Because we found out we couldn't. I think I told this story, so I won't go over it again. It was just we had to look around a little to find a bar with the game on. They had the one TV over the bar. Said, "Yep, we'll keep it on that game." But just to warn you, we've got trivia night in here. Oh, what do you do? Well, it's drag queen trivia night, and tonight's theme is Jurassic Park. So you had some drag folks running the show, asking the questions, and it was all Jurassic Park trivia, and it was just fun and funnier than hell. And a couple times, I yelled in the middle of it. And the one time she had just asked a question, and right as Nebraska hit, it might have been the play where Sims dropped it, or they threw it to him, and it bounced, and he picked it up and threw a touchdown to the other Bullock, Alex Bullock, and I just went, "Oh fuck yeah," or something really loud. And she just asked the question. She's like, "Oh, glad you enjoyed it." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." But no, that night was good times. And a cute girl did come up and tell Drew he looked cute. But being a Husker fan, she couldn't get him off the bar stool. He was watching the game. All right, back to Matt Rhule stuff. What do we got? Yep. I support Rhule in his attempt to appeal to recruits with as many unis as he can muster, but surrender whites in Minnesota is just tempting fate. I hate it. I said it's spitting in the face of fate, and it's Dylan. Dylan, he said it's Dylan's got to bug up his ass about that Indiana beating in the whites last year, so he wants to prove they can win in the whites. You know what? It might end up hurting us, but it's coming from a good place. It's coming from screw the surrender whites. We can win anyway. Well, tell you what, you've lined up your challenge. 0-5 in the last 5 against Minnesota. Haven't won 2 road games in a row since 2006. And fuck it, we're putting on the surrender whites. So come get us, fate. What is it? What was John Candy's name in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Because I'm just thinking now like Steve Martin. I spent the night with so-and-so. I can take it. after the night. Oh God, in the hotel with John Candy, and I think that was then they wake up the next day with I just resting my hands between these 2 pillows. Those aren't pillows. So let's see. Yeah, here we go. And some people are definitely in Bob P's camp. Hey, Bob P, who cares about the uniforms? They don't win the games. Win the damn game. Yeah, absolutely. It's just hard to ignore that 300 winning percentage sometimes. But I have plenty of I want them burned. I have plenty of friends that tell me that exactly, and I don't know. Keep rolling them out. We'll find out. I'd love for it to turn around. Wear all pinks against Iowa just to rub it in, but win. That would actually be kind of fun. Oh, come on now. Dylan is the last guy who wants all unis. It's not slimming. Oh my God. Let's see. Yeah, it's not Rhule. He's agreeing to what the players want. This wasn't like the Matt Rhule thing. Now, as head coach, I think he should have for one time said no to Dylan on this one. But that's my thoughts. All right, let's see. Yeah, I'm sure it gives like pit snipe. It probably gives PTSD too for all the times he had to wear the navy whites. Those aren't great looks. I'm just not. I think Texas looks silly in them. I think Tennessee looks even sillier with the giant numbers. It's like, what the? You're trying to get these things, seen from a spy satellite. All red is tacky, also. Yeah, but I like it's like we've only truly done it twice. I know that one of our Jetsons alt third uniforms was. I know one of those was red, but meh. All right, let's see. Tell you what, if there is some under the surface PSU fuckery, Rhule would know about it, and I'm pretty sure it'd keep him from going there. I would think so. I would hope so. What the hell? Don't yell at me, or you're getting put out on the streets, or I'm going to a hotel, or are you going to ban me from hotels? You just have that place clean and have some snacks ready. I'm the one. I'm the guest. I'm the one calling the shots here. I'm staying with Drew up in Minneapolis. Let's see. Well, are we about spent on Matt Rhule to Penn State or staying talk? Let's see. Because we're over 2 hours here. Wonder why I had to pee so bad. Those weekends. Yeah, I saw that today too, James. We talked about it. We were talking about it at the press conference. The line's just flying up on Minnesota. It is. I was looking today. It started at 6, jumped to 6.5 pretty quick, and then I didn't look at it again until today, Tuesday, and I think I'd looked at it, Sunday, and then bang, it's up 3 more points. What's going on up there? That usually, those big jumps usually. I'm always thinking, they know something I don't, because that just feels like a sucker line given all the numbers going into this game. Let's see. Riley. Hey now, Riley won a Grey Cup. Oh my God, right? You're going in here with Riley won a Grey Cup shit. There'll be no more of that. Come on now, man. Oh, geez. So what is everybody? I don't want to talk about that forever. I found this old picture and I was like, what is everybody drinking tonight? One of my favorite Archer lines of all time. But let's roll back over there. Is anybody trying to poach our offensive line coach? Hey, probably not the week to give Donnie Raiola crap. The offensive line looked good. What the hell? What the hell is Patrick Duffy leg after your ass? I don't know what the Patrick Duffy leg is. Oh, geez. No, that's Riley Todd. That's Riley. Now I'm mad I brought him up because he just the mention of his name just puts me in a bad mood. Was it? I love that traumatized my child kind of. I love that I traumatized my child kind of messed me up. Maybe I shouldn't let you stay with me. Well, you know what? You've already promised it, so shut up. Pit Snipe says, walk it off, Mustang. Let me get rid of that pick there. I want you to see me howling at that. Walk it off, kid. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Fred says, I don't see PSU going for anyone from the South. Well, Manny Diaz is at Duke, but he's coached Penn State. And somebody told me Cignetti's from Pennsylvania. So who knows? I don't know if that means anything at this point. And I also talk about like what Cignetti's like in his mid-late 60s. So, that's not a guy they'd be hiring for 15 or 20 years. But you never know. And shit, the guy, if that's how old the guy is, he looks good. But says it'll be Freeman, possibly Brian Kelly from LSU. I heard that here and there, but not seriously, because he's a phony chameleon who will blend. Yeah, he's not going to go to Happy Valley and start talking about his family again, like that one ridiculous press conference where he pretended to have a Southern accent when he took the LSU job. That was so bad. My favorite uncomfortable one was when Dana Altman took, before quitting 2 days later, because I think the place just freaked him out, when he took the Arkansas job and they all started screaming those suey pigs at him, and he got a really frightened look on his face, and then was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not taking that job. No. So let's see what else we got there. Where did I? Okay, here we go. Isn't Mark Cuban the big money behind Cignetti? Is he an Indiana guy? I don't know. Yeah, who knew Indiana? Somebody, yeah, they did say that they really started spending, and so they might be able to keep up in the Cignetti sweepstakes. Let's see what we got here. Here we go. We just need everybody in Nebraska to pony up $50 a year, million fans a year. Who needs a big donor? It's like a tax base. You could bleed the billionaires dry but not have enough. Yeah, but I think you might find that's you might not get $1 million to do that. I don't know. It's an idea. Yeah, it's like the people that want to run for office on. Hey, I'm not taking any donations over $10. This is going to be a campaign for the people. Don't know if it would work. It's a great idea. Yeah, it's great that the fan base isn't obsessing about Rhule versus PSU or anything. Yeah, it's just a perfect thing though, because this is a fan base who, in games mostly, had just been accustomed since all but the Bo era, I think, since Osborne, of just waiting for the next kick in the teeth. Because how do we lose that game? We always win this game. How do we? Now we're going to lose at the end. We're going to do something stupid, and it's another one-score loss. And so I think what you probably have is, hey, we're out to the 5-1 start. It doesn't look like it's going to take the 5-game losing streak. It looks like we've got a lot of winnable games. We've remember last year, bowl game came down to the Wisconsin game. This year we could have it Friday night. And okay, well there's that taken care of. And it's just a case of now it's like we finally get some nice things, and you're going to take our coach. And first of all, I don't think you're not going to hear if he does go. The evidence might be in that you're not hearing about a contract bump, and then you're just waiting for that announcement like the Sunday after the Iowa game, because it's not going to be done. He's not going to bolt out in mid-season. I can't ever remember. We fire people in mid-season. I can't ever remember hiring the new guy in mid-season. Unless it's Ed Orgeron or Urban Meyer. Let's see. Hats off to Rhule for building the bones of a competent program. Can you take us to the crown? I don't know. Well, neither do I. I'm not going to say he can't. And just for the simple fact that things are that the playing field is much more level now than it used to be. Yeah, you can't hold those 5 stars on your roster, under threat of a 1-year suspension. I'm sorry, losing a year of eligibility anymore. It's like if they see the road somewhere is dead, and they're jumping and taking their talents to other schools. Like where did that Mendoza, the Indiana come back? Because that's 2 nice quarterbacks. This one's better than last year's. And that's 2 nice quarterbacks Siggs pulled out of the portal. That was my thing. Is I was expecting not quite as much as last year, because you've tapped out your James Madison, and can you hit up the portal again like you did last year? And turned out the answer was yes, and we're going to be better. Who was it? Maybe it was Klatt. Because I think he was the only sports I was listening to driving back from Lincoln today. And he made the point that he goes, if this was a big name, if this was Ohio State or Texas or Georgia, or somebody like that, Florida, not Florida State yet, but you know what I'm talking about, or Southern Cal, even, that's still a big name, who went out and did that to Oregon, because they were like, yeah, the score wasn't great, and I didn't watch it. He said, if you watched it, this was Indiana just imposing their will on Oregon. They just flat out beat them. They dominated both lines of scrimmage, and it was. And they said they made them look like the young team that they are, and they just outmanned them. And so anybody else does that to Oregon, you're just pronouncing it. It's over. Here's your national champion. The college football playoff is going to be a formality. Blah blah blah. And in this case, you're probably I should take a look at the polls, because you probably will see some people who keep Indiana back there at like 5th or 6th or something. I would hope not. I'd hope, they're up at 1 or 2 or no worse than 3. 3's even low, but no worse than that. Because if it was a different logo, a more well-known logo, people are way more hyped about that win in general, and they are pretty hyped. But I still feel like it's Katie bar to the door as far as the rank. They're number one. First of all, that team's number one, and I think Indiana should be number one. I think that Oregon win is better than any of Miami's. Anyway, my thoughts. Let's see here. Yeah, Rhule on paper isn't an upgrade from Franklin. It's not. That's the thing, and if you're going to upgrade from Franklin, yeah, I mean, they are right. I think they are right. I don't think it's as good as they think, but they are right. And they said this is the best job opening out there, just from the resources you get having an AD like Kraft, who's got a great reputation. But that's why I think they can shoot. They can shoot for the moon. And is the moon out there? That's the question. And I don't think Matt Rhule's the moon either. I think he's in the place to become the moon someday, and hopefully, do it here for years and years. That's that's what you want in the end, right? Is that we've got the coach we want right now. He turns it around to what he's done before, and then he steps on the gas and surpasses that. And the way he's put down the roots and talked about it, this doesn't, it doesn't feel like the 3-year, God, what's the word I'm looking for? The 3-year limit that his previous jobs have come with. Let's see. Honestly, the only way we need to worry about losing Rhule is if he damn near runs the table. Then he's he's more of a hot shit hire. Well, here's the thing, and this was 2 weeks ago. I think it was right after Michigan, and we're 3-1. And I just using the ESPN predictor thing they have, if you go into their like big previews that pop up online, that literally it said going the rest of the way, and apologies to Minnesota. I can't remember who the other team that was. It was kind of weird that we have left was. But the only games that it had us at the time not favored in the remaining games were Southern Cal and Penn State. Now we might be favored against Penn State if they keep going in the direction they're going in. So that could leave us favored in like all but one game for the rest of the year. Who would have seen that coming? So that damn near running the table might be, and you got to take it one game at a time. I know, but it might be more feasible than you think. A lot of tiers we talked ourselves into it because we had all those teams that we were pretty evenly matched with, but we were going to step on our dicks at the end of the game and hand it to them and lose by 3 and all that. That's becoming not a thing. We haven't done it once this year. I mean, Michigan wasn't always screwed it up at the end of the game. It was like they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Or let's see. Yeah, they had a 10-point lead, and then we field goal, they field goal. We scored a touchdown and lost by 3. But that wasn't, dropping it with us on their 20 and a chance to win or any of that nonsense. Oh God, I got to finish this up. I should have known that tonight was going to go a little longer. I walked in and I saw Mitch Sherman from The Athletic that used to write for Lincoln, and we were walking in, and I was like, "So busy weekend, huh?" And he just kind of laughs and goes, "Yeah, more ways than one." And I'm like, "Yep, God, yeah." And I'm just thinking, a few things to talk about today. Am I right? Yeah, I tell you what, we're spending too much energy discussing shit about Rhule that is never going to happen. But this is it's not just us. This is in play nationally. This is like bookmakers nationally have Rhule installed as the favorite. He was 2-1 the week they lost to UCLA, and now he's dropped to 3-1, even though he's still the leader. He's the leader in the betting houses, I guess you'd call it. And here's Joel Klatt on his national show talking about him as one of the 4 candidates. This isn't just Husker fans worrying. This is a guy that is nationally, they know that just because of the connection between Kraft and Rhule, and then probably the fact now he's off to a 5-1 start, his name's out there nationally. We're not the only ones talking about this, trust me. And the thing is, it's big news for a week, and then I think it has to fall off until, like I say, he gets his contract extension, or December rolls around and he doesn't, and they take him. Let's see. Okay, again, Fred, you're picking the wrong week to pick on Donovan Rhule, man. This was probably their best game of the year. That the offensive line was opening holes for Emmett, and just one sack given up, no quarterback hits. It was their best game of the year. And Donovan's guys tend to improve as the season goes along. We'll see. I didn't think we were going to have fire Donovan Rhule this week. I guess technically we didn't. What else we got? Let's see. Well, Steve says, hey, working against Maryland says even if he throws 3 more INTs, we beat the Gophers. If he well, you know what? If he throws 70% and adds 45 TD passes with it, you might be right. I don't want him to prove that to us. I'd love a big goose egg up there. I mean, it was several. What, he didn't throw an interception until Michigan, right? Yeah, I thought Michigan was his first pick of the year. Talking about. And yeah, we're not gonna talk. This is the one night where I was like, we're gonna talk about Matt Rhule and Penn State, but yeah, it's not gonna be a weekly thing. It's big news. Paterno was royalty. No, fuck him. He was a pedophile hiding piece of crap. And they say that now. I mean, they even said that by the time this was rolling around, he was dead, but that he had been hiding that since the 70s. When Sandusky was there and in his prime. Let's see. So no, I'm not going to say anything nice about Joe Pa. The hell? No. Let's see. Penn State. Yeah. Well, we beat Miami. Yeah, true that. Let's see. I'm just reading some of this stuff about you guys talking to each other. If he runs the table, Nebraska would be in the CFP. Would he leave in December? Would PSU wait until the middle of January? Interesting. But I try to avoid CFP talk because I think it was starting to crescendo a little. We were 3-0 before Michigan, and it's like, okay, let's take it one step at a time here. I think if we make the CFP, he's not going to leave in December. He's even if he is going to PSU, I think he's going to tell him to wait. I don't think he can walk out on that. You can't just because he's never won one. You're not going to walk out on a shot at that. And you're still owning a place you love. And he did. The time I pissed him off, he finished off. He goes, I love this place. It's awesome. Yeah, he was. I still remember he was freaked out by how nice Lincoln was, and he compared it to what a junk ass place Stillwater, Oklahoma was, and that was funny because I'd been down there for that the Huskers softball regional, and just was like, yeah, I recognize that the raising cattle and horses and all that it's a fine job. It's a smelly one, and they have a lot of those farms or ranches right by town, and yeah, you can smell that shit in Stillwater. And, I wouldn't be fired up about that. Let's see. They were talking about Paterno. There's a Rhule back when Paterno was fired, because I guess maybe. I guess that hasn't been that long ago. I could see that. Let's see. Look us in the eye and pee in that bottle. I'm fine. I'm gonna get to the bottom here. I swear. I'm pretty close. Let's see. And I am there. Oh, you know, it's like, you know what? This is the one I was looking to kind of close the evening on. It really isn't an evening of Huskers Happy Hour until Fred Sacco brings up uses Camp Kenosha in a comment. Oh my God, that is funny. Um, hey, here's my old buddy Eric. Eric and I went to school together. Omaha Brownell Talbot represent. Given PSU fired their coach after making the playoffs, it would seem like they want a win now guy, not a builder. Yeah, and that would seem to be Signetti. I'm at a loss for a comp to him. There's no comp to Signetti. John, our guy Johnston wrote an article a few days ago. I think it was last week. Called like, "Will Kurt Signetti ruin college football?" And by that, what he meant was, there's already like a rush to fire coaches. It seems like, the moment they're not winning, or building to that, they're out of here. And that second, nobody gets a chance to fuck up when you hit a certain level of coaching. And Signetti, man, is just going to speed that up because, here's a guy, all these coaches, I need 3 to 5 years to build this. No, it's going to be screw you. Kurt Signetti did it at Indiana in literally the first year. Yeah, there was no 3-9. He came in and his very first year hit the portal and had him in the college football playoff. I think that's what John was asking. Is this going to be the new expectation? But yeah, so I don't think anybody's ever done that. Come in out of a one double A program, or not C or B bowl champion BCF or BCS bowl championship series. Is that what it is? It was just so much simpler. Division one double A, was it bowl or bowl champion or playoff something? One's playoff, one's championship. Anyway, one double A. He won one double A. Madison already made the jump, so he's lower Division One or mid major or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there's no comparison. No one's done that. Also, how much of a distraction will this be for the team? I don't think it matters. That team appears to be distracted as hell right now. Can it get any worse? I mean, I guess it could. No, not really. It just means, the status quo is just keep losing to shitty teams. No, I think they've hit rock bottom, and now it's just, will they stay there, jump back up? They've got teams left that they should win against. They've still got, it's not like they're suddenly terrible players, but just, I don't know what the disconnect is. I don't know if it's Franklin's fault. I don't know if it's something that runs deeper. But given but he says also, how much will a distraction will this be given the schedule and the team learning how to win? This team knew how to win. This is a team, like I said, team 1 year removed from the playoff. Started out cruising along fine. There was nothing, other than the fact it was a top 10 team and the record involved, there was nothing embarrassing about losing an overtime game to Oregon. Good comeback, lost in overtime to top 5 teams. They were mad about that, but then you lose to UCLA and then you lose to Northwestern, and you're talking a whole another level of hatred. And they said that, I think somebody made the comment on a show, probably the Clash show, that they had to get rid of him now just because of how people were acting in the stadium. Like, he's literally just being insulted, shit thrown at him. I don't know if there's that much thrown at him, but just the stuff they're saying to him with young children with him. And it's like, they say that's when it's gotten bad, is when your home stadium has become toxic, and his has, or theirs has, and you have to make the change just to take away some of the thing. And for Christ's sake, it's Penn State, where they think pedophile harbors should get a statue. This is their level of ethics. But yeah, they'll want to jump right back. They'll feel like we got the roster. If they can have a good portal season to fix whatever needs to be fixed. Maybe there's some poison in the locker room there that certain players maybe said some things they shouldn't be saying after the loss to Oregon. Didn't handle it well. And maybe because you get the guys bitching in the locker room and complaining, just crybabies, it to the point where it's not how'd you put it? It's not a constructive discussion. It's guys bitching and moaning and backstabbing and blaming everybody else. And when that starts running through your locker room, and a head coach can't, either doesn't know what's going on or doesn't know how to get rid of it, that's just a guess on my part. But if that's the case, yeah, you need to fire the coach. Need to bring a new one in, and then he's got to deal with it. But at least they're dealing with someone different. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting hire. And like I said, yeah, I don't think they want a program builder. I don't think to kind of wrap it up now. I don't think they want a 3-year program builder that they've got the roster they've got. I don't think they want a guy who's got the same problems beating ranked teams that Franklin is. And I think those are the big two that'll keep it out of there. That you need more just than an AD coach connection. And I think the coach and the AD realize it. And then if the offer never comes, then maybe the bump never comes. But then maybe but let's say he does, if not run the table, come out of here with like a 9-3, 10-2 record. I feel like he's done the first part of his job, and it's time to re-up him anyway and get him back to 8 more years. But maybe get a clause in there. The one thing that got me was the fact that he could leave early and only have to pay $5 million. That I was like, that's the coach buyout if he leaves early. That's kind of weak, but I didn't. But maybe they just wanted to make it as attractive as possible. So this time, if you do roll out the Brinks truck for him, you turn that $5 million into more like 30 or 40 million. It's like let's do this now. Let's marry ourselves to each other. I don't know. You can always tell me what you think next week. I'm probably gonna take one last peek, and then we'll roll it out of here. Interesting stuff going. What? Interesting. All right. Ooh, there's actually one last thing. Husker Bob, he might be right about this, asking if Sandusky was Rhule's position coach. If Rhule's 50, that's probably it, because what was he there from like the 70s to like mid 2000s, early 2000s, something. He was there a long time, and I would bet Rhule was playing there before the mid 2000s if it's only 2026. So that's going to be it for tonight, folks. Holy cow, 2.5 hours. All right. God, thanks for a lot. Had a few more people tonight. Glad to have you here. Glad to see, even if I didn't get to all them, we had the comments flying tonight, but for everybody that popped in a comment, if you didn't get read, keep at it. We'll get you. And seriously, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. Corn Nation appreciate you guys. Be sure to check out It's Many, and then our own Fred Sacco. They are doing Monday Night Therapy right now, and then Greg and Many are on the 5 Heart Thursday nights. And look for John. John will do like a post game, just like a quick post game recap right after games, just like 5-10 minutes long. And then I believe Greg does a Corn Nation overreaction thing on, I want to say Sunday evenings. Same thing, just a quick one. I'm thinking about maybe doing like a post game one before I hop in the car or something after games. Do a quick 5-minute one and just pop a few comments while I'm still heated, maybe say something I shouldn't. Oh no, I'd never do that. So anyway, thanks much, you guys. Love you. We will see you next week, and we will. If anybody's up in Minnesota and sees me walking around, say hi. But that's usually like way before and way after the games. But enjoy the game. Let's pull one out at Minnesota. Let's cut the interceptions, tighten up the coverage a little, and bring back a W over. PJ, look at me, Fleck. We don't want PJ making his team body surf him again, which is apparently the way they celebrate their wins, by PJ reminding them all that it is really all about him. Good night. Love you guys. Go Big Red.